Yo, people, it's your boy Major, and as always, I'm with my brother Ace, and welcome to another episode of Two Up Front. Ace, what are you telling me, bro?
Hey man, I've been better, bro. If it wasn't for my love for you, if it wasn't for that, because these streams they're becoming increasingly difficult because we'll get into it, but it's not fun being an Arsenal fan right now, man. It's not fun at all. But yeah, man, what can we say? We're healthy, so you have to look after yourself. So we thank God for that. We thank God.
I hear you, bro. I hear you, bro. Hey, man, times like this, you think about the important things, man. Like, do you get me?
Family.
Think about family. Do you get me? Health.
Yes.
Man. Yes. Because, over at Old Trafford, at the red side of Manchester, in the red side of Manchester, rather, things aren't good, man.
Hey, man, the Red Cartel, only one team is doing well right now, man.
Hey, man.
The rest
and
of
it's
us are
my biggest ops. My biggest ops, bro. It's hard. It's number 20. Whilst my club is just going into ruins, it's horrible. But yeah, man, we'll get into everything. But yeah, very quickly, bro. I think we'll just do a very quick recap of the game yesterday. Obviously, Manchester United, we faced Fulham in the FA Cup. I don't know how much of the game you were able to catch, if anything, bro. But yeah. I'll give my quick views on the game, and then if you want to add any contributions, then please feel free to. But yeah, man, going into the game, I was just thinking, guys, just somehow get through, man, please, because I was looking at it and I was thinking, Fulham. I think I said this to you yesterday. They're better than us. Like they're better than us, and funnily enough, we've actually beaten them twice this season. I was there on the first day of the season when we beat them 1-0. That's when Xerxes got the late goal, and then we beat them at Craven Cottage as well. I think Martinez got the deflected goal 1-0 again. So we've had like two very tight games where we beat them 1-0, and I was hopeful that somehow, some way, own goal, deflection, whatever way, like hopefully we can get over the line. And man, it just wasn't to be. I think when Amorim, I think we spoke about it before, where we spoke about Amorim saying that it's not for a lack of effort or trying. And I think it's not for a lack of effort or trying. But man, I think we're just so far off it. Like, we're so far off it. I think Fulham, there were like just phases in that game where they were extremely comfortable and extremely threatening. And man, we were suffering. I think in the second half, we did get into it more again. I think that was a very good finish by Bruno on his left foot as well, to make it 1-1. And then, in extra time, to be fair, I think out of the two teams, I would probably say that we looked a bit more the likely team to go and nick it. I think Chido, which I think we'll probably speak about him a little bit. I think he was putting himself about, like, and again, no, you know what? I'll get onto it afterwards. We'll speak about Chido. Do you get me? We'll speak about Højlund as well. Let me not go on a tangent. Let me stay focused. I'm gonna stay focused. So and then ultimately, it gets to penalties, and you know how it goes. I think I've seen some United fans, they were really like annoyed with the fact that Lindelof took a penalty and stuff. With me, I think I remember I've seen Lindelof take a penalty in a penalty shootout before and he scored. So I don't read too much into those things. Like, of course, I think when you've got attacking players on the pitch, normally you would want to see them step up to take a penalty. But like, I remember against you guys, I think Euro took a penalty. It was a great penalty. Like, so defenders taking penalties, like, I get it, but at the same time, I don't think it's that much of a big deal, me personally. And essentially, Lindelof missed, Xerxes missed, and we're out, man. And it's just the Europa League now. And man, I just don't feel great, man. Because honestly speaking, I'll be lying. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I wanted to win the trophy. I wanted to, I'm not one of them fans. Some fans, like, they just who cares about whatever. Like, no, with me, again, you enter the season. In this case, most teams enter with 3 competitions that they're competing in. Obviously, if you're in Europe, it will be 4 competitions. And when you're looking at it realistically, it was very, very apparent that the Premier League wasn't going to be a competition that we could win. And then you've now got 3 left. You got knocked out of the League Cup. Europa League, we'll speak about it a little bit later, but that's nowhere near a given. Like, do you get me? You've got teams in that competition that are better than us. And yeah, you're looking at the FA Cup, 1 round, luck of the draw. On the day, anything can happen. We are defending champions. We're thinking, cool, you know what? It could be a good opportunity for silverware. And yeah, man, it wasn't to be. So yeah, it's just the little bits of hope that I've been having for the rest of the season. They're just getting taken away bit by bit, like just bit by bit. So yeah, very disappointed. I was actually, I was sad. I won't lie. So yeah, bro. What were your thoughts very quickly?
Yeah, no, we'll get into it because like you said, I can definitely relate to the being in the position where you feel like, we're just playing games, or what's the point at this point? What's the point? It's going out for a kickabout. Like, the jeopardy's gone. But we'll get into that. On this game, I feel like I agree. I think it was a close game. I think it could have gone either way, but I think Fulham probably deserved it just off the odds of, because even maybe the first game was more balanced, but the second game at Craven Cottage, I think Fulham should have definitely won that game. And it was for a lack of just having no striker that was clinical on the day, and that really affected him. And this game too, it looked like, again, probably for most of the game, I think Fulham deserved the win, but then you leave at Old Trafford, you give United a chance, you let them stay in the game. And I think as the game kind of went on, the United started to grow into it, and then it looked like, oh, United actually gonna not only take this point, they're gonna nick this. Like that's really what it was looking like. But I think overall, I think Fulham were like deserving of the result as well. I feel like they played really well, made good chances. I don't know if you want to touch on, like, we'll talk about United, but you guys are set pieces. It's actually crazy how bad you guys are at set pieces. Like, I think you guys are like the second worst team in the Premier League in terms of conceding from set pieces right now. So that's something that Amorim's really gonna have to fix. But all in all, I think you kind of said it. I don't think there's too much more to really add. I feel like close game. Fulham probably deserved it, like in terms of chances overall. I feel like and penalties. You let the game get to penalties and you can't complain what happened. Like, you guys knocked us out in penalties the last round. So again, you don't do your job during the 90 minutes. That is what it is. And I think I'll never lose my mind like because of penalties. I feel like you put yourself in that position. I feel like. And all in all, like, fair play to Fulham. Like, the quality of penalties in this game was 12. Oh my god! Lindelof was the first guy to ruin the streak, but everyone was just lacing it. So it was actually really high quality pens. And then Lindelof, I think where I probably agree, maybe I lean with the fans are a bit frustrated. I think it was just more about like the order of like, why is Lindelof your 4th penalty taker? Again, it's just like I heard centre back taking, but it's like, I always feel like they should be after the clear penalty takers have gone. Like, I think you can't be waiting on Xerxes to be the 5th penalty taker. It might not get there, and that's what happened in this case. So I think that was a bit of a mistake in terms of the selection of like putting Lindelof there. But again, we said it after the fact because he missed. But all in all, it wasn't a great game. But it was them ones where you just want to just do what you need to, scam your win, keep it moving, and not look back. It was one of them games, and luckily, I'm well done to Fulham for getting the win. And then, man, I don't know if you want to touch on Chido, man, because, bro, I think at that point, too, when he came on, was it 1-1 already, or was it still 1-0 when he came on? I think it might have been 1-1.
I think it was 1-1.
It was 1-1. And I said, bro, the way I'm feeling like as an Arsenal fan right now, I see pain in my future. And with us, no striker, play Marino up front, Chido, 17-year-old striker, leaves Arsenal in the summer, goes to United, and this game comes on, scores. I saw it, bro. You just see the headlines. I said Twitter is gonna erupt because this is the kind of thing that will set fans alight. So I just thank God that, because he even had a very good chance as well. He even almost got a goal as well, but my God was greater, because that could have been very unfortunate for me. But I don't know if you want to touch on him, because him coming on, and I think what he's even showing right now, Højlund at 72 million. I think he has to be definitely concerned that if he falls behind Chido in this pecking order, it's a long day, man. But what's your take on that whole Chido Højlund?
I think obviously a lot of Man United fans who have been defending Højlund have said that, you know what, he's not getting a lot of service. Players aren't finding him, etc. And I think this was a clear demonstration that, you know what, as a striker, you've got to do more to create your own chances. You've got to put yourself about. You've got to make sure that you're putting yourself in positions where you can capitalize. And I think that's what Chido was doing. I think, of course, he's 17 years old. He's extremely raw. I think a couple of the chances he snatched at. But yeah, he was there. He was anticipating. And even Bassi, who, you know, very strong. Like, I think for the most part, like, he was quite secure in the game. But when Chido came on, like, yeah, he was worried. Like, all of a sudden was like, oh, rah, I've got a fight on my hands now. And I think it was for that first opportunity where he really, like, yeah, put himself about. And then I think that's when he snatched the shot. He had the one right at the end of regulation time where, yeah, like, he tried to just quickly nip in front and like tuck it round, but yeah, he weren't able to. And then there was the one where I think there was the very good save by Leno, where it was like, I think that was actually quite a good effort. Yeah, like he done well to like, yeah, try bend it around, and I think Leno made a good save. But yeah, he done much more than Højlund. He put himself about, and yeah, like afterwards, like in the stream, because hey man, today's two up front therapy, man. That's what's happening. So yeah, we're gonna talk about like just youth and youth players and the academy and stuff. But yeah, I think he's definitely done himself no harm as regards to him trying to put up a fight for minutes, because yeah, I think he clearly showed that, you know what, he's got things to offer. So yeah, like I was happy that at least he got like much more of a run out, because I think he should have got in earlier games, he should have been given a much bigger run out. So I'm happy at least on this occasion he was able to have a run out. So yeah, that's what I was saying, Chido, bro. But yeah, ultimately, man, we're out of the FA Cup. It's sad times, but what can you do? Europa League.
Hey man. Hey, yeah, that's some tough games in that one, boy. Some tough games in that one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's not easy. Yeah, that's not gonna be easy. That's not gonna be easy. But then I guess, where do you stand? I guess kind of maybe jumping off this game into like maybe United as a whole. United the last few games is like, where do you kind of stand on like, I guess, the conversation with like what Amorim has to work with, and then maybe him, like what kind of the job he's also doing with these players as well. Because I'm looking at something that I think I find so interesting is that when I look at like both teams lineup, sometimes when I look like Fulham, like it's not like Fulham have clear, like they have better players that are just better than United, but it's like they're just much more cohesive and like they're just a better team. I don't know, like, but go on. I'm genuinely asking, like, do you feel like Fulham have like better players? Okay. I was even trying to, bro. Nah, come on, man. You're doing your players in the service,
bro.
You're doing your players in the service,
bro. Should we go through the teams?
We actually can. I have it in front of me. We actually can. I'm looking at the lineup. Okay,
let's start with goalkeeper.
Cool. All right, cool. Goalkeeper, Nana Leno. Yeah, I can't. I think Leno. Yeah,
exactly, bro. All right, let's continue.
Okay, Euro, Maguire, De Ligt, Anderson, Bassi, Robinson, Castagna. I think De Ligt and Euro versus Anderson, Bassi.
I was about to say, I think I should have mentioned that. I think De Ligt had a great game, by the way.
Yeah, he actually
was really, really good. I think he was.
He got caught. I don't know if you blame him all for the goal, because he was the closest guy
for the goal.
Like, he reacted slow. Like,
I think just overall, like that, our zonal defending when it comes to set pieces, it's just it's a mess overall. I would say I'll probably have to watch the goal again. To be fair, but yeah, I think for the most part, De Ligt, he had a very good game. Like, I was actually impressed with him. So yeah, and to be fair, like when it comes to like our centre backs, like Euro, I think he's been much better as of recent as well. Like, I think he's gotten much more comfortable. Obviously, still only 19, so like I rate him highly. Like, I think he's gonna come good. And then Maguire as well. Like, I was disappointed with him during the Everton game, where like I think was it for the second goal where I think Decore just out jumped him.
Oh, man.
Just out jumped him. Like he just lacked any sort of anticipation, which I was disappointed at him for. But overall, like obviously he does put in the effort. Like he has had some good showings, but yeah, I think when you're talking about like your starting lineup, he's not someone that probably you want to see starting week in, week out. That's what I would say about Maguire. But so I think you're looking at like our defense, our centre backs, they actually weren't bad. To be fair, but yeah, like I think when you're looking at Fulham's, you're looking at Robinson as a left back, and I think
that was clear. He's walking into your team.
He starts. I do like Anderson, as well. Yeah, like, and I think Bassi was very, very assured, kind of a thing. And then who was the other player you said? Was it Castagna?
Castagna.
Yeah. So
again, the way your fullbacks, he probably start as well.
So I think even if you just want to say call it okay, let's level it out or whatever the case may be, like I don't think there's no like clear superior advantage from the Manchester United side. Yeah.
Okay, midfield: Bruno and Ugarte, Lukic versus Sander Berge.
Yeah, I hear that. I think you know what it is, and I guess this lays to probably the point that you're gonna make, where I think obviously Bruno, from a quality standpoint, he can do things that not a lot of other people can do. Like he's got match winning ability. So yeah, and he showed that with the goal that he scored. But obviously as a central midfielder, because I know he dropped back, you're asking him to do different things. And some of the things, like when it comes to, I think the reason why Amorim likes to try and deploy him there is because it's like, okay, you know what, you've got someone who could potentially break the lines because he's got a wider range of passing. But then from like a positional discipline standpoint and from like a getting about standpoint, then he's not necessarily suited to the role. So you've kind of got problems there. Ugarte, again, like he's someone where it's like, you know what he's good at, he's got his strengths, but then at the same time, you know what his weaknesses are. But yeah, I think how Fulham's midfield performed, I think it was good. But yeah, I think if you ask most people, then they'll take our midfield.
They'll take your midfield. Yeah. Then I think going forward is where I think it starts to change a bit. Muniz, I think he sucks. So that one, I'll give you Xerxes.
You've been on to him. Yeah, you've been on to him.
I think he sucks. Honestly. So I'll put Xerxes above him. I think Xerxes is a better striker than him. But then you got Traore, Pereira, Iwobi as like they're kind of three behind. You guys had Ericsson, I guess Højlund, Xerxes as like your three going forward. Like,
yeah, man. Like honestly, Ericsson, he's someone where it's like, obviously, as regards to his passing range and his eye, like he still shows glimpses, but obviously he's just old and doesn't have the legs anymore. So it's like you need the Ericsson from like 10 years ago. So I think that's our problem. Xerxes, I've said it from the beginning, that I felt like a lot of the criticism that he was getting was unjust. And I said it, like people are seeing it now. I've said it. I've had arguments with my friends about this. I said it. Xerxes is a better footballer than Højlund, and everyone was looking at me. Everyone was looking at me when he first. They were looking at me like I was crazy, and now everyone's saying, "Oh, you know what? Actually," and I was like, "Oh, okay." Okay. Now you see it. But I said it from early. Like I was just like, Xerxes is a better footballer than Højlund. I think Xerxes was doing a lot of. I think there was the moment in the game where he collected the ball, like he dropped my man, like with the turn. Then he played the ball over the top to Garnacho to run onto, and then Garnacho got the shot off. But yeah, like Xerxes, he does some really good things. Like I think his close control, his touch, from a technical standpoint, you can see that he's a good footballer. Like he does a lot of things where you look at Højlund and you're thinking, bro, if you could implement some of this into your game, then you would be able to help Manchester United much more. The ability to hold the ball up, the ability to link others, to bring others into play. Like I think Xerxes shows a lot of those attributes. The thing is, though, is that Xerxes still isn't a goal scorer. So as regards to a 9 and someone who's going to put the ball in the back of the net, like, he's still not that. And then Højlund, yeah, man, he's looking extremely.
What's his run now? Like, his run is crazy.
I think his run is, I don't want to misquote it. Is it something like 16 games?
Yeah, I think it's like 16,
something
17.
Like that.
It's around...
something like that. Yeah. I know him and Garnacho, they've got really long runs.
Oh, Garnacho has a run like that too.
Yeah, Garnacho has a really long run as well. Like, yeah, both of them. So, yeah, but I think it's just overall, when you're looking at how he is contributing to the game, like, it's just poor, man. Like, his touch isn't there, his hold-up play isn't there, his ability to bring others into play isn't there, his anticipation isn't there. And even when you're looking at his physical aspects, a lot of what people were saying was that, oh, you know what, well, he's strong, he's quick, but he's not even able to utilize those aspects effectively. Like, we've spoken a lot about this whole wrestling thing where he likes to wrestle with defenders and he's preoccupied with doing that, as opposed to trying to be smart. And you know what, pick your moments where you're trying to run into space, or pick your moments where you're trying to preoccupy defenders. But yeah, like, and then even when you're talking about, like I said, his pace and his power, I think he doesn't even utilize it properly. Like, he's not really good at, like, getting his body in between the ball and the defender and being able to shield the ball. And
you don't ever see him break away from, like,
yeah, he's not very good at that. Like, he can't get his body. So even like the physicality that people say he has, he's not even able to use it effectively because his game intelligence isn't there. So I think there's a lot of things to be worried about. I'm not going to lie. Like, he's a player that's currently very low on confidence. And I think, as we saw from last season, when he is confident, then he does perform better. But also at the same time is, you know what, you can't allow anytime your confidence gets knocked. Anytime your confidence gets knocked, you can't now start going on a 15, 16 game streak without scoring. And even if your confidence is knocked as regards to not scoring goals, then you need to be showing us other things. You need to be doing other things in the game. And the problem is that he's not showing us anything. Like, no, honestly,
that's fair. I think that bit is completely fair as a criticism. I guess what I'm thinking too is, like, because even like you say, last season when he was confident, is like he was also getting decent chances and decent positions as well. Like, he definitely needs to do more, but it also does feel like you kind of give your strikers like chance, like, board like on the halfway line and say, yeah, now go on a run. And it's not really like cutbacks in the box and he's missing like clear-cut chances. It's not really those type of chances he's getting either, in terms of like your whole team build-up play or chance creation as a squad.
But that's where, again, you've got to do more. Like, you've got to do more because, again, if you look at Chido and how he was putting himself about, if you look at how he was creating chances for himself, and then even I remember a lot of this rhetoric was going on last season where people were saying, oh, you know what, Manchester United aren't creating chances. But then also at the same time, McTominay is always able to find himself on the end of them. Like, why is McTominay always on time and why are you always a second late? That's to do with anticipation. Like, that's to do with you not positioning yourself right. That's not to do with just Manchester United's inability to create chances. Of course, we have an inability to create chances. And of course, if we were creating more and more chances, then Højlund will be able to, you know, maybe show himself better and he'll be able to, you know, have more attempts on goal, etc., etc. But even with that, we need someone who can do more by himself. We need someone sometimes as well. You as a striker, sometimes you're the one who's able to dictate what passes get sent to you by your runs, by where you're positioning yourself in the box. Like, sometimes you're the one that dictates that. So I think it's a two-way thing. And I think, overall, he's just not doing enough. So I think there's a big problem there. A big problem. But, bro, you know what? I'm going to get onto Amorim. We're going to talk about him because I think we need to speak about him. And I think, the whole club, Manchester United from top to bottom, is an absolute mess right now. So what we're going to do, bro, again, two up front therapy. I've got a lot to get off my chest, man. So
get off your chest.
I need to speak about these Glazers. I need to speak about Ineos. I need to speak about Amorim. I need to speak about the players. One by one, bro. Everyone's don't worry, no one's getting, don't think that Amorim is not going to be spoken about. Don't think Ineos is not going to be spoken about. Don't think the players are not going to be spoken about. Everyone's getting spoken about. But I'm going from top and I'm going to work my way down. Like,
no problem, bro. Can I ask questions? Should I just let you, can I ask questions in between? Just read the room. Okay, hi, bro.
Let's read the room.
All right.
There's going to be times where it's like, bro, I'm going to need you to not talk.
Damn. Oh, no, get off your chest, man.
Bro, I'm just, man. Like, honestly, I think we spoke about it yesterday, but when I'm looking at Manchester United now, like, I am, like, just truly concerned, like, from top to bottom. I'm looking at everything that's going on the pitch. I'm looking at everything that's going on off the pitch, and I'm thinking, like, where do we go from here? Like, where do we actually go on? Like, where do we start? Like, how are we going to get back to a place where we're able to win a Premier League title? Because I think in the press conference yesterday, I think Amorim, he said that was the aim for Manchester United, like, for us to win the Premier League title. Of course, he's not talking about this season.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like, I think generally speaking, like, that's the goal that he has. Okay. And I was just looking at it and I was thinking, like, where do we even start, man? Like, there's so much problems. And I'm going to speak about the Glazers. I think, firstly, and like I said, we will get onto Amorim, but I want to very quickly speak about the Glazers, just because I've seen some rhetoric online from rival fans regarding Man United fans complaining about the Glazers. And I think it's apparent that a lot of people don't actually understand why Manchester United fans are upset. So I'm going to try and give a quick breakdown. And so essentially, bro, and I spoke to you about this, bits of this yesterday, but prior to 2005, Manchester United were debt-free. When the Glazers took over Manchester United in 2005, they done so by using a leveraged buyout, where they raised over 600 million in loans and secured that debt against the club's assets. So all of the debt was loaded onto Manchester United. It wasn't the Glazers that had to deal with it. It was Manchester United who had to carry it. A club that was previously debt-free. Are you following me, bro?
Yep.
Cool. Now, what happens when you borrow money? You have to pay interest.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
You have to pay interest.
Yep.
And of course, when you're talking about the type of money we're talking about paying a lot of interest. And it's recently come out that Man United have now paid more than 1 billion in interest repayments on the debt used to finance the Glazer takeover in 2005, bro. 1 billion British pounds sterling taken out of Manchester United to pay for a debt that wasn't ours, a debt that was put onto us. 1 billion pounds. The Glazers haven't been putting money into the club. They've just been taking money out of the club, bro. Like I always say, they're absolute parasites. Yeah. And I think people need to understand what's been going on with that. Additionally, bro, what have they also been doing? They've collected around 150 to 200 million pounds in dividends that they've put in their back pocket. So they've loaded the debt onto us, a debt that we still carry, made us pay over £1 billion in interest repayments, and they've been pocketing millions of pounds for themselves. They've not invested money into the facilities. They've not invested money into the infrastructure. They've not invested money into the stadium. They have absolutely exploited, bro. They've exploited the biggest club in England. And I think I mentioned this yesterday. In 2023, clubs voted to end fully leveraged buyouts. So it has now been capped at 65% of the club's value. But obviously for us, it's too late. The Glazers have already done what they've done. So, bro, they've literally come and taken, again, the biggest club in England, and they've just absolutely financially crippled us. And in addition to all of that, I mentioned this yesterday as well. In 2005, it was under the Glazer ownership where the Manchester United women's team got disbanded because it was deemed not to be profitable enough. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? The biggest club in England didn't have a women's team. And I said it yesterday. What type of message does that send out to all the young girls who love to play football? that the biggest club in England doesn't even have a women's team. They don't even have a women's team because they deemed it, you know what, these lot ain't bringing in profit. There's no need. And it was literally only in 2018 when the club relaunched the women's team. And there's still been loads of problems as regards to the women's team.
Wait, when did they get disbanded, sir?
2005, bro.
Wait, that's when they came in. So they came in and disbanded.
2005, yes, bro. It was on the Glazer ownership. 2005, women's team got disbanded. They said this isn't profitable enough. We don't need it. Got disbanded. It was only in 2018 when there was loads of pressure. And again, it's a crazy look that the biggest club in England don't have a women's team. And eventually, it got relaunched. And since then, as regards to support for the women's team as well, there's been a lot of problems, and they've actually done well, because I was really concerned for the women's team going into this season, because the season prior to last season, Manchester United's women's team actually did well. We finished second. And then last season, things weren't great, but similar to the men's team, we won the FA Cup. Shout out Ella Toon. Do you get me? Screamer in the final. But then this season, I was extremely worried because, again, like the team's just been neglected, etc. But thankfully, obviously, on the pitch, we've actually done quite well. Like, we're second, like, we're putting up a fight. But that is not due to the ownership or the club, like, doing what they needed to do. Like, that's just the credit to the players. But literally, bro, when I was just looking at just everything that they've done, it's literally just, it's crazy. Like, it's absolutely crazy, bro. I'm sorry, bro, I need to keep going. Also, another thing that annoys me as well is that when rival fans talk about Manchester United fans and the Glazers, a lot of people always say, oh, well, Manchester United fans didn't care about the Glazers when we were winning titles and we were in our glory days. And that's just not true. Manchester United fans have been protesting against the Glazer takeover from the very beginning. Bro, Manchester United fans created a whole other football club. A whole other football club was created. FC United of Manchester. FC United of Manchester was created in protest of the Glazer takeover, bro. That's how much Manchester United fans didn't like it. And the yellow and green scarves.
Yeah, I was going to ask for the law.
Yeah, bro. When everyone says we're wearing the Norwich scarves, they brought the Norwich scarves out again because things aren't going well. Bro, the yellow and green scarves, they didn't just appear when things weren't going well on the pitch, bro. We've been wearing them for years. The yellow and green scarves you see us wearing, they didn't just magically appear out of anywhere. We've been wearing them for years. I remember 2010 against AC Milan, last 16 of the Champions League. We beat them comfortably. And literally, if you look at the crowd, bro, everything is documented. Look at the crowd, bro. Yellow and green scarves everywhere. That's when Manchester United were under Ferguson. That's when we were winning titles. That's when things were going well. If you look at the end, Beckham, when he came back, he put one of the scarves around his neck and the fans were applauding him off, bro. And the reason why we wear those scarves, because when everyone says, oh, they brought the Norwich scarves out again, is because Man United were originally called Newton Heath. So when we were founded by railway workers, and yellow and green were the colors that the team wore. So we started to wear those scarves to protest against the Glazers and highlight the roots of the football club. So this whole thing of like, oh, Manchester United fans, they only started caring about the Glazers when things weren't going well on the pitch is just not true. And it's very annoying when people say it because it's always been a problem for us right from the beginning. If you look back at 2005, there were protests. Again, a whole football club was created because of the Glazer ownership. Bro, we've never, ever been happy about it. And of course, there's been a wide level of mismanagement on a wider level. But, bro, people need to understand what these guys have come and done to our football club. Like, they're absolute parasites, literally. Yeah. They've put a debt onto us that isn't ours. We've been paying interest repayments because of that debt, and the debt still exists. And things that should have been invested into our club, when we're looking at Old Trafford, when we're looking at the roof, and we're thinking, oh, what's going on? When, like I said, when Cristiano Ronaldo's having an interview with Piers Morgan and he's saying, oh, look what's going on with the club, it's still the same as when I was initially here how many years ago, and you're thinking, right, there's been no investment, etc. Bro, it all started with the Glazers. It all started with the Glazers. So that's number one. I just needed to address that, bro. You can interject here quickly before I get onto Ineos now.
Okay, no, I just wanted to say, I just wanted to say, it's actually crazy because I think so many other fans in the Premier League can, like, even me, Arsenal, Spurs, we all have owners that annoy us, that are not ambitious, that they don't do what they need to take the club to the next level. But it's also like crazy having an owner that actively also like puts you into depth as well,
bro.
Like, put us in that's actively in front of your face making money from the club, like the audacity to take out dividends when your club is in the like doing what United have been doing for the years is actually crazy. That I say is actually crazy.
And that's the thing, bro. It's not just a matter of, oh, we wanted to sign this player and they never signed this player. And it's like, no, bro, you've taken our club that was debt free and you just loaded us with debt. And then you've been taking dividends. We've been having to pay interest repayments because of that debt, a debt that wasn't ours, a debt that you put onto us. And you've been financially crippling us ever since you've come into the football club. It's more than just Manchester United fans being upset because, we never got this player or we never got that player. In fact, bro, I remember I was reading an article and it was saying that if we didn't sell Ronaldo in 2009, we would have made a loss. How can Manchester United... at that time, we're not talking about Manchester United now. We're talking about Manchester United then, who the year before they'd won the league and they'd won the Champions League. And in 2009, won the league again and got to the Champions League final. And you're telling us that if Ronaldo didn't get sold for 80 million, we would have made a loss. How? Bro, it's crazy. Yeah. And then afterwards, you look at Ronaldo going and it's like, oh, who does he get replaced with? Michael Owen. Our old Michael Owen, not the young Michael Owen at Liverpool who was ripping up the Prem. Our old Michael Owen comes to Manchester United. Again, Antonio Valencia, great player for us. Like, do you get me? But obviously, he done very well for like the capabilities that he had. But we're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. Like, do you get me? And you didn't replace him with another player of, again, you're not going to get someone who has Cristiano Ronaldo quality, but at least someone where you're looking at it and thinking, okay, we can see that they're trying to at least fill the void. Because it wasn't just Ronaldo that went that year, it was Tevez as well. So, bro, like the signs have been there from early. Like the signs have been there from a long, long time, bro. Like, and you're looking at it, and again, a lot of this got hid because we had a generational manager, a once-in-a-lifetime manager who was able to just work magic. He's the real Harry Potter. Did you get me? You know when Ten Hag was saying, oh, you think I'm Harry Potter? Ferguson was the real Harry Potter. He was able to just do things that covered all of this up. Like, he was able to just work wonders, honestly. And he was able to put us in a position where we were still winning league titles and etc. But of course, when he goes, and then obviously David Gill as well went as well, then you're looking at it and it's like, okay, now the true colors are being exposed. And yeah, man. So just from a Glazer ownership standpoint, they've just literally sucked the life out of my football club. And there's a reason why Manchester United fans are so passionate. And there's a reason why we're so desperate for them to go. It's not us. It's not Manchester United fans are not being spoiled and entitled. It's not a thing where, oh, you know what, we are used to winning and we just want to be able to pick the best players in the world. And because we can't do that, we're getting annoyed and etc. and etc. and etc. That's not the case here. Again, we're looking at people who have come, they've taken the biggest club in England. They've placed a crazy amount of debt onto us. They've made us pay interest repayments totaling up to £1 billion. They've neglected our stadium, they've neglected our infrastructure, and they've sucked the life out of the football club. That's why we are upset. It's got nothing to do with us being spoiled and entitled. And I think if anything like that was to happen to any of your football clubs, whether you support Arsenal, whether you support whoever, you would be also having a similar sentiment to us. So obviously I get the banter, I get the whole rival fans thing, but yeah, just the notion that, oh, Manchester United fans, what are they complaining about? And I'll say this as well. That's not to say, and I'm going to talk about it, that's not to say that even with all of that mess, Manchester United haven't made other mistakes, which has helped to lead us, to put us into the position that we are in now. Of course we have. We've had like mares all over the place. Like, this is not, it's been an accumulation of problems. Yes, we have spent money and we spent it badly. Like, do you get me? So it's not a thing where it's just like, oh yeah, if we had made better decisions when it comes to transfers, then yeah, we potentially might be in a better place as well. So I'm not saying that, oh, it's just because of that. But what I am saying is that when Manchester United fans are upset about the Glazers, people need to understand why. And bro, literally, every United game that I've ever been to, whether we're winning 4-0, 3-0, 2-0, whatever the score is, bro, literally, stand up if you hate Glazers. That chant is going to run at least a couple times in the match, bro. It doesn't matter, bro. Literally, it doesn't matter if we're winning 5-0, 6-0, bro. Every single time, without fail, bro, that chant's going to run. Honestly, bro. Bro, like, and those who go to Old Trafford, tell me if I'm lying, bro. It's not a thing that's all of a sudden just come about. Like, Manchester United fans have been upset with this whole predicament. And yeah, man. So that's first and foremost. Now, Ineos, you also now need to be held accountable because you've come into the club and what we needed with all of the mess, we need this people who can come into the club. And I think you mentioned this, bro, make back-to-back good decisions. We needed a flow of good decisions. But so far, it's been a flow of bad decisions. It's been a chain of bad decisions. And that's exactly what we didn't need. You've come into the club and we're looking at the financial reports and we're seeing, okay, you know what? 15 million to get rid of Ten Hag. Looking at the millions we needed to get rid of Ashworth. We're thinking, so you spent all of these millions to get rid of Ten Hag and Ashworth. And it's crazy because Dan Ashworth, you were chasing him for how long? How long were you chasing him for? Only for you to spend millions to get him in and then afterwards say, you know what? We don't want him. And that's just money gone down the drain. Ten Hag, after the FA Cup final, you decided to keep him after the summer. You said, you know what? We're going to extend his contract. We're going to keep him after the summer. Bro, you then decide to get rid of him soon later. Again, wasted millions of pounds because you've allowed him to oversee transfers like for his squad. And you've also given him a contract extension when, again, you could have just left it and seen how things play out. Like we said it, like he should have went in the summer. He should have went in the summer, but you decided, nope, you're not going to get rid of him in the summer. You're going to keep him. Then you get Amorim in. Amorim, he's openly said, I wanted to stay with Sporting Lisbon until the end of the season. He said it, bro. This is not hearsay. This is not, it's been rumored. He said it. I wanted to stay with Sporting Lisbon until the end of the season. The reason why he didn't stay is because Ineos said it's now or never. Amorim said, well, I want to manage Manchester United, so I'm going to leave. Ineos said, all right, cool. We're not backing you, though. So you brought him in at an awkward point in the season. You've not backed him in January, and you've just said, all right, cool. You know what? Do your thing. Bro, again, it's been back-to-back poor decisions already. And what it's looking like now, what Manchester United fans are scared of, is that it's looking like, is Sir Jim just getting buddy with the Glazers, and is this just like a little is this just a little coalition thing going on here? Like, do you get me? Like,
they're trying to go on a flip together,
man? Bro? We're thinking, are you lot just yes men? Like, is that what's going on here? Like, are you yes men? Like, do you get me? Because that's not what we need. Like, do you get me? That's not what we needed. That's what we need. And another thing about the Glazers as well, that was when just sell our club, man. Get your money and sell it. And it's like, no, you said, nope, what we're going to do is that we're going to sell a little bit of it and we're still going to be the majority owners and we're just going to go to the back a little bit more.
How much they pocketed like billions from that deal or so from English, right? Like, it's not even like that money went straight to the Glazers.
Bro,
I think so Jim put like 300 mil to the club, so okay, yeah, help with the cash flow. I think the majority of the money that he invested went straight to this actually might be the greatest football heist of all time.
Bro,
it actually might be the greatest football heist of all time.
Bro, we need to do one of those doc vids. You get me? We need to do one of those doc vids. bro. We're gonna do one of those documents, bro. Nah, because people need to understand what these men have done, bro. Like, do you get me? They have fleeced us. Like, they've absolutely fleeced us. Do you get me? It's actually crazy, man. But yeah, Ineos, you're looking very, very questionable right now. And yeah, we're looking at you, and we're looking at the back-to-back decisions. And again, man, we're looking at ticket prices going up. We're looking at working class people losing their jobs because of the finances of Manchester United. And bro, like, it's highly concerning, highly concerning, bro. Honestly, like, when you're looking at the football club and we're looking at everything that it is that we stand for, and you're looking at the decisions that are being made, you're looking at the people that are losing their jobs, you're looking at the Glazers, you're looking at everything that's gone on to all of this rubbish, bro, is deeply concerning. Deeply concerning. Like I said, bro, Manchester United were established by railway workers, bro. Like, do you get me? And we're now looking at working class people losing their jobs because the club's in a financial mess, a mess which, again, the Glazers came in 2005 and just said, you know what? Here's your debt. That's what we're going to do. Do you get me? And they've just been milking us for money. So, yeah, bro. Problems all over the place. Glazers, Ineos, very questionable. Now, Amorim.
Chai.
We're going to speak about Amorim because I've given the context, and I want to give all the disclaimers. I'm going to give it because I know how fans can be. So I'm going to give all the disclaimers. The Glazers, the Ineos, the Glazers and Ineos have put Manchester United in a crazy position. Amorim is having to deal with crazy circumstances. He's been put in an extremely tough position. He's not been supported. He's not been backed. And a lot of the things that are happening at Manchester United are not his fault. I want to provide all of those disclaimers very quickly. However, even with those circumstances, he should be doing better. And this is not me saying sack the manager, get rid of him, etc. But I think as Manchester United fans, we need to be honest and we need to look at it and say, you know what, even with all of these circumstances, where you expect him better, do you think that he should be doing better? And that's fair. It's fair to criticize the manager. No one's saying that, oh, everything is his fault. No one's saying that he needs to leave. But it's fair to criticize the manager and say, you know what, we have expected better. We expected better. And I think when you're looking at some of the decisions that have been made as regards to just even like tactical things. So I think we spoke about this with Arteta, but I remember those times, for example, where it was just like Dorgu was playing left wing back instead of right wing back. And we're like, why is he playing left wing back instead of right? Like, Dalot has been struggling on the left. So why don't we put Dalot on the right and then Dorgu on the left? They're both on their strongest feet. We know Dalot's really been struggling. Like, that looks like a simple solution, but then he's chosen not to do it. And we're thinking, okay, why? And then we're looking at even instances where, again, I'm extremely passionate about youth. Like, I've always been passionate about youth. Manchester United, we were literally built off of promoting academy players. Like, Manchester United have a wonderful and rich history of promoting academy talent. We always have been. One of Manchester United's mottos is literally youth, courage, success. And if you look at the history of Manchester United, it's clear that we've lived up to that motto. We can go all the way back to the days of George Best, Sir Bobby Charlton, two of the greatest players to have ever played for Manchester United, two of the greatest players that Britain has ever seen. Did we buy them? No, they came straight from the academy. In fact, George Best and Sir Bobby are two of 6 British players to have ever won the Ballon d'Or. That's the caliber of talent we're talking about. Nobby Stiles, World Cup winner. Him and Sir Bobby Charlton, 2 of 3 Englishmen to have won the European Cup and World Cup. Class of 92, Beckham, Scholes, Giggs, Neville brothers, Nicky Butt. We know what they went to do. Alan Hansen told us that we can't win anything with kids. We went on to win the double that year. And then even post-Ferguson, bro, we spoke about Rashford, LVG as manager. We had injury problems. We looked at to the academy. Rashford came through. 2 goals on his debut, 2 goals against Arsenal. Bro, Manchester United, we've always looked to our academy and we promoted youth. Like, it's always been a thing. It's not something that, like, it's we're not asking you to do something that we've not been doing before. Like, it's always been a part of a man. As a Manchester United manager, you always have to look to the academy and look at moments where you implement certain players. Kobbie Mainoo had a great campaign last year from the academy, scored a winner in the cup final. Even talking about cup finals, look how many times academy players have stepped up for us. Kobbie last year in the FA Cup final. I remember 2016 FA Cup final, Lingard got the winner against Palace. Treble season, Scholes scored the second goal against Newcastle. 1990, when Ferguson was almost about to lose his job, he was under extreme pressure. Lee Martin got the winner against Palace for us. Again, crucial for Ferguson, academy player. Manchester United have always looked to them. And academy players, they're not always going to go on to have the greatest of careers, bro. Like, there's so many academy players that you look at. Like, I remember Makeda coming on for Manchester United and scoring that winner against Villa. He never went on to be no Manchester United legend, but he was able to contribute. Januzaj, like, do you get me? Januzaj, he came in. Januzaj came in. He was able to do his things bit here and there. Like, Welbeck, he came in. He contributed. He scored some goals for Manchester United. Like, he had an impact on our team. It's not every player that's going on is gonna go on to be like one worldie, but if you just look at it, academy players, they can help. And I'm very passionate about academy players, but I'm also careful of the fact that you don't want to put too much pressure on them. Like, you don't want all of the expectation to go on them. So I'm not asking you to say, okay, you know what, trade 9 of the starting 11 and now go to the academy and put 9 academy players and play them for the rest of the season, because that's not smart. But bro, a 20 minutes here, an odd start there, what's the worst that can happen? Honestly, what's the worst that can happen? Just let them play. We saw Chido yesterday, and it's like, bro, he had something to offer. Do you get me? It wasn't perfect, but he had something to offer. And I think when you're looking at some of our academy players, like, I'm looking at like Kone, I'm looking at Morehouse, I'm thinking, you know what? These are talented youth products that can get minutes here and there. And bro, I've said it before, like, for the rest of the season, bro, the academy, man, that's what's going to be giving me the joy. I think that was something Manchester United and Arsenal fans, we're both just looking at, thinking, hey, man, Arsenal fans are looking at it. I was like, well, at least from this season, we got Miles Lewis-Skelly and we got Ethan. Like, do you get me? They're looking at Max Dowman and they're saying, okay,
hey, man, you might need to expedite. How old can you be? How young can you play in the Premier League? Is my question.
Yeah, and touching on him as well, like, he's a very, very good baller. Like, do you get me? Like, again, when I was looking at, I watched the FA Youth Cup match, and yeah, man, like, when you're just looking at him and you're thinking 15 years old, like, he's a very, very, very good player. But like, there's loads of players for Manchester United who are in the academy where you're looking at them and you're thinking, you know what, in a few years, hopefully you'll be able to get your opportunity. I was looking at Jim Thwaites, baller, like, he was absolutely brilliant. Just left foot, right foot, from a technical standpoint, like, he was looking like a class above. And then even if you look at free kicks, bro, I've seen him like just do his thing in the academy for a long time. He looks very promising. Amir Bragimov, again, another promising player. Like, there's so many players. And again, some of these players, they're not going to see the first team for a very, very long time. Like, do you get me? They need to develop. You don't want to, in all seriousness, you don't want to like disrupt people's development. Not everyone is going to be your Mao. Like, do you get me? Who can actually come in as a 16-year-old and actually just say, do a madness. Like, do you get me?
Bro, it's a lot, man. Bro, even Ranieri, he's cramping up 45 minutes into the game. Like, it's a lot man. For these man to be coming in.
It's a lot.
Yeah, now play 90 minutes.
It's a lot.
You're good, and now, it's a lot.
But what I do want to see is that I want to see a manager being proactive and saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to pick my moments. Don't be scared. That's the thing. Like, do you get me? If you look at it and you think, you know what? This kid's ready. Like, play him for 20 here. Play him for a 30 here. Like, do you get me? Like, allow them to integrate. But just generally speaking, and then even when you're looking at the system, I have no problem with, again, I said it from the beginning, 3-4-3, fine with me. you've got your philosophy, you've got your formation, you've got your structure. If you want to come to Manchester United and implement that, I am backing it 100%. And everyone who's saying, oh, 3-4-3 is the problem, well, thankfully, God has blessed me with a great memory, and I'm able to remember just a few months ago when Ten Hag was here and we were playing 4 at the back and we were absolutely horrible. Thankfully, God has blessed me with a good memory, and I remember me going to Old Trafford, watching Manchester United lose 3-0 to Tottenham, and us putting in one of the worst displays that I've ever seen. Thankfully, God has blessed me with a memory that I can remember that far back, because clearly it looks like some of you are struggling. So I'm here to remind everyone that things weren't all rosy when we had 4 in the back, in case anyone's forgot, because it seems like everyone, all of a sudden, their memory's gone. So I just wanted to say that. But however, Manchester United still need to be doing better when it comes to, Amorim, still needs to be doing better when it comes to implementing his philosophy. Like, he needs to make the necessary tweaks. Like, if things are structurally looking all over the place, then you've got to make the tweaks necessary. No one's saying change everything, but again, adapt. You've got to make the tweaks necessary. Again, I've got to be consistent, because I spoke about Ange and I spoke about him not needing to change his philosophy, but him needing to adapt. And again, Amorim, if things are looking not great, then you need to know how to make tweaks here and there. And also, just from a coaching standpoint, again, I've given all of the context to Manchester United being really bad. But I just think, as a Manchester United manager as well, I need you to improve players. Like, you need to improve players. Like, I need to see players who were performing at this level now perform at a higher level. And then you look at it and you think, you know what? That's because of the manager. That's what you need to do. Like, as a Manchester United manager, that's what you need to do. So whilst everything that I said regarding the Glazers, regarding Ineos, regarding the structure of the club, everything remains true, and Amorim has been put in an incredibly tough position, he still needs to be doing better. And he can't just continue to be putting in poor performance. Manchester United under Amorim, can't continue to just be putting in poor performances and to be losing football matches. Because ultimately as well, what's going to happen is that we're going to get to next season and you're going to be under an incredible amount of pressure. Like, if you finish the season with just loss, do you get me? And then you're out of the Europa League as well. You've got no trophies to show for it. Then from the start of the season, you're going to be under so much pressure. Like, do you get me? And I think what we need from you, we're not asking you to work miracles at all. We just need to see more clear signs that things will click when you do get your players. Like,
you know what it's true, I think regardless of whether we want to accept it or not, a lot of football fans are attacking football bias when it comes to, if you're losing games and it's like, oh, do United lose 3-2? Maybe the defense was a bit of the problem and then you guys are making chances, you're unlucky. I feel like fans have so much more patience for that than when it's you lose 1-0 and you guys barely got past the halfway line and it was just a ball fest. And I think he's leaning too much to that side. It's too boring. It's too, yes, you might be losing narrowly, but it's like you were never really in the game to win in the first place, kind of thing. So I think he definitely needs to crank it up to that level where it's like, cool, we can now just see that Garnacho's just not good enough. That's not like, I don't say he, but you want it to be those kind of conversations where it's like you're coaching the best that you can coach, where it's clearly a personnel issue. But when it's like the players aren't great, the coaching isn't great, it's all stale, then I think that's when you start getting flack as well, even though, like we said, that he's in a really, really tough position right now. Just kind of add on to your point. But so I agree with that.
I think you make a very good point as well. We need to see a certain element of bravery. And if I'm Amorim, I'm not going to lie, and I think we've spoken about it a little bit on stream, someone like a Garnacho, I'm going to try it at wing back. Like, we need attackers in those wing back positions. When we have defenders there, bro, we are so stale. We are so bland. We don't create anything. Like, honestly, we don't have enough dynamism in the attacking areas. Nothing is dynamic. We're not creating any sort of overloads. Like, it's too bland. We need wingers. We need it to be a 3 at the back, not a 5 at the back. We've just got to try something. Like, do you get me? We've got to try something. And before I'm all for try Garnacho there. Like, do you get me? Just try him. Just try it. Like, do you get me? Just try it. Like, we know you've got the injuries. We know Rashford has gone. We know Anthony's gone. We know Ahmad is injured out for the season. We're aware of everything that you're having to deal with. But yeah, man, we need to see something because, bro, the reason why we need to see something is because this summer is a huge summer for Manchester United. Like, we're looking at Sancho's going to go to Chelsea for 25 million. Anthony's been on loan. We might try to sell him. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, it looks like Manchester United will probably try to sell him. Rashford, I don't know if he'll end up going to Villa or if he'll end up going somewhere else, but it looks like he's probably going to go. And then there's other players as well who were going to try and go. We need to be able to trust you with overseeing changes in this squad. Like, we need to be able to trust you with new players coming in. Like, we can't afford, bro.
Major. I think we spoke about this as well. We spoke about this as well. I think especially the fact that you guys are going down this back 3-4-3 kind of line. This path you're going down, if there's any time that you guys cannot afford to make another mistake, it's right here. Because if you guys start buying players for this system and now Amorim doesn't work out, that's when then it's looking really long. You might have to go get another back three manager just to even sustain something, like for him to get something out of them, because that's going to, you're putting yourself in that kind of path now. So I definitely your recruitment, which is what we haven't seen. I think we spoke about this a bit yesterday as well, which is where you then, I guess, then you then look at the players that you guys are bringing in as well. It's like you guys have to spend so economically, and you have to buy the players that aren't there yet, but like you said, Amorim can improve them to now get them to a different level. That you buy a guy for 25 million and now he's a 50-60 million pound player. That's what you guys have to do now, because you clearly are not in a position to try to build a team with 50-60 million pound players anymore. The recruitment this year is going to be so key. Before we even kind of find out how much money you guys even have to spend in the first place, even with all the noise and I don't know whether they're holding it back in the summer. The money's going to appear, but the way these guys hung him out to dry in this January is it will definitely make you think that, boy, maybe these problems are really that serious. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, bro, honestly. And I think you made a very good point with the specific style that you're trying to play, with the structure, with the formation, with having three at the back. Then, yeah, we need to be able to trust you to oversee all of these changes. We can't afford a bad summer. We can't afford to make expensive mistakes. Like, we can't, bro. We've seen Manchester United's finances. We're cooked. We're absolutely cooked. We can't afford expensive mistakes. We can't afford the Anthony. We can't afford that. Like, we literally can't afford that, bro. Otherwise, we're going to be... I can't stress this enough, bro. Like, we can't afford to do this anymore. Like, because that's part of the reason why we're in such problems now as well, is that Ten Hag made so many expensive mistakes. When you're looking at Anthony and how much he cost, when you're looking at Mount, who's never fit, how much he cost. Like, we can't afford to now make more of those mistakes in the summer, bro. We're going to be even more cooked than we already are. So we've got to be really intelligent. And again, we've got to look at those players where it's just like, I remember when, for example, when Klopp got Salah, for example, do you get me? Salah wasn't this Salah. When Klopp got Mane wasn't the Mane that we saw at Liverpool. Like, do you get me? Like, you've got to make, they were good players. Do you get me? They were good players, bro. Like, but they weren't what they became. Like, we've got to start making intelligent signings where it's just like, okay, you know what? Economically, this makes sense. Now, Amorim, with the right coaching, you can make this player even better. You can improve this player. And then, hopefully we're able to get ourselves back to where we need to be. But I think that's the thing. So for the rest of the season, Amorim, he needs to really start showing us things. Like, he needs to start showing us, one, his capability of managing, like, even in these horrible circumstances. And he needs to show us kind of like just a stronger light for the future. Like, he needs to display a stronger light for the future. Because again, we can't now, it's going to be extremely worrying if we lose every game. And we've seen no progression football-wise. And then we go into the summer and Amorim is like, okay, cool. We're getting this player, we're getting this player, we're getting this player. Like, again, the pressure that's going to be on you from the start of the season is going to be crazy. Like, absolutely crazy. So I think, when I'm looking at Amorim again, clearly the reason why we got you is because you are one of the most exciting young managers in Europe. So clearly you've got a lot of potential. Clearly you can manage. We've seen what you've done in Sporting. We've seen what you've done at Sporting, sorry. So again, like I said, I'm not saying Amorim out. I'm not saying sack the manager right now. But again, there's nothing wrong with looking at it and saying, you know what, Amorim, you need to be doing better. You need to make some tweaks. We need to see you displaying we need to see you displaying the ability to improve players that we've already got. Like, because that's what when we're looking at top managers, that's what they're able to do. They're able to do more with what they've got. Like, do you get me? We need to see a player that is like this, raising the bar. Like, that's what the great managers do. Like, and for Manchester United right now, with the situation with our finances, we can't afford to have a manager who can only function at optimum level when he's got all of his players. Like, do you get me? That we need. Like, and you know where it is. For example, we've always we've spoken about you know, when we're talking about the greatest managers of all time, Pep and Fergie, obviously a lot of the time they come up in the discussion. And Pep, one of the greatest managers of all time, without a doubt. But when people criticize him, often what is it that they say? They say, oh, you know what? Whilst you are one of the greatest managers of all time, we're not taking that away from you. It looks like a lot of the time you need X amount of money in order to perform to these capabilities. Like, you need to spend this amount in order to perform at this level. You need these players in order to get these trophies. Like, that's normally what it is. It's like Pep needs X amount. Whereas when we're looking at Fergie, we're like, okay, yeah, we're not saying that you've not spent at all, but we've also seen you overperform with teams. Like, we've seen you overperform with teams that probably shouldn't have been doing as well as
that team that won the last Premier League. Yeah, I still to this day say that Fergie sold you guys. Like, he made a deal, and that's why you guys are paying for it right now. I'm telling you, man, that team that won that last Premier League, you guys are still paying for that,
bro. Like, even like when we look at even like the 2011 team, obviously, that got to the Champions League final. Like, again, I think, of course, like, we had some quality there and we had a lot of experience and stuff like that. But again, you can see a team that was on his way out. Like, do you get me? It was on his way out. And then by 2013, you saw that, like, Van Persie literally came and he was able to do a madness that season. And then thankfully, do you get me? We won the league. But then after that, like, things started to deteriorate. So we need a manager who can overperform. That's what we need. Like, you can turn bad players into average players, turn average players into good players, turn good players into great players. That's what we need. Like, because of the finances, because of economically where we're at, because of all of these factors, because of the ownership, we need someone who can overperform. So again, still very early days in the context of, obviously, like, everything considered. Like, we know it's not like Amorim's been here for years upon years. Like, we know that, again, he was thrown in the deep end. Like, what was it, November he started, and we just started March now. So yeah, it's only been a few months. So again, I want to make it very clear, because, you know, when people start saying, you switched on him already,
you trying to tell me Amorim out?
Yeah, you switched on him already. You switched on him already. No, guys, please, everyone calm down. Please, everyone calm down. Anyone that was about to type anything, please delete it. Please, I'm not saying that. Everybody calm down, please. Calm down. I'm not saying that. But it's okay to look at the manager and say, you know what? We think that you need to be doing better here. Like, we've got to be honest. Like, do you get me? So it's like, especially within, because I think I've been fair as well, because I think in the first, like, when he first came, it's like, yeah, it's going to take a while before I even start criticizing you, because you're adjusting, etc., whatever the case may be. And then now, again, I'm nowhere near saying, oh yeah, you know what, sack him now, or whatever the case may be. But I think we have every right, and it's fair, it's not being harsh, to now look at it and say, you know what, Amorim, we're behind you, we're backing it, but we think you should be doing better because we are 14th and we've not been playing good football at all. And we are out of the FA Cup and things are not looking good. So I think that's fair. So that's what I'll say with Amorim. I still think he's a great young coach, and hopefully he does get it right. I think he's been put into a horrible situation. Again, we've spoken about the Glazers, we've spoken about Ineos, we've spoken about the situation he's had. Ahmad, who was doing his thing for us this season, got injured, out for the season. That's the last thing that he would have needed. The one player that's been able to adapt to his system seamlessly is the one that gets injured, and the one that was, do you get me, winning you games, he's the one that goes out. So yeah, obviously Kobe's injured again. So we know that you're dealing Martinez, who looked like he was starting to, operate better in his system. He got injured, out for the season. So of course, things are not looking good. But yeah, man. Amorim also needs to be doing better. Then finally, bro. Finally. This is the last bit. The players. The players. Oh my God. Are you sure this is the last bit? The players. Yeah, it's the last bit, bro. It's the last bit. So we've spoken about the Glazers. We've spoken about Ineos. We've spoken about Amorim. Now the players.
I feel like I've learned a lot about United today.
Players, bro. Oh yeah, bro. I told you, therapy, United lessons. That's in the therapy, bro. This is what I'm saying, bro. Do you get me? This is a real big issue. I said, bro, I told you yesterday, I was like, bro, I'm not in the mood to do no trolling, to do no nothing. I said, bro, I'm gonna talk about my club. Do you get me? I said, I just need to dissect it, and then we'll get onto Arsenal and we'll do the same, bro. I said, that's the mood for it, bro. I'm not even into no trolling today, man, because the things are looking. I told you, bro, I was looking through those financial records. I was looking at Manchester United's finances, and I said, wow. Again, not from even a football fan perspective, from a business perspective. I looked at it as someone who knows business to a good degree. I looked at it, I said, yikes, we're cooked. I said, we are cooked, bro. I said, we are cooked. I said, this is not good at all. This is not good at all. I said, wow, Manchester United Football Club. I said, wow, we are cooked. So yeah, but yeah, bro, finally the players. So I'm gonna try to keep this section not too long because I think we can go on and on and on and on. So I'm gonna highlight a couple of things, bro, and then feel free to contribute as and when. Okay. Firstly, bro, I've tried, bro. I was patient. I was patient. You'll see where I'm going with this.
I already know.
I was patient. I was patient. I was trying to say, you know what, second season, etc. Bro, I think, yeah, man, we need to replace our goalkeeper. we need to replace our goalkeeper, bro.
He's actually sent back black goalkeepers, man. He's sent back. We need Premier League black goalkeepers. He set them back, man.
We need to replace our goalkeeper, man. Bro, I've tried, man. Honestly, even after the first season, even after him being responsible for us getting knocked out of the Champions League, I looked at it and I said, you know what? First season, I remember De Gea's first season. He was shaky, but then afterwards he settled and he turned out to be a world-class keeper for a good few years. And I was looking at it and I was thinking, you know what? Onana, I saw him at Inter Milan. I'm going to be patient. But bro, the amount of mistakes, man, is crazy. It's continuous. Anytime you think there's a bit of stability, anytime you think, oh, you know what? He's gotten over that. Then he'll just come with an absolute howler.
Yeah, you can't trust him.
And he has a variation of howlers. he has howlers in different ways. It's just, bro, it's crazy.
I don't know if you clocked it in this game. I saw Smith Rowe tried it. A few players tried it a couple of times. People have clocked this that inside post low shot.
Yeah, man.
Teams are targeting that. They know that he drops like a feather.
Too many times, man. Too many times, man. I'm sorry. I've been trying my best, honestly, because again, this is not a position that we even want to be having to try and prioritize, because we've got so much money we have to spend that this is the last thing we need, having to replace a goalkeeper that we recently got, bro. Honestly, this is not where we would be wanting our finances to go to, but it's worrying. I'm looking at Onana and I'm thinking, bro, what are we actually going to do? Because we can't have someone in goal who continuously just makes mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, bro. Honestly, I've tried, man. You know I've tried, bro.
No,
you
no,
know
you
I've
have, man.
tried.
You've
I've
given it
tried,
time.
bro.
You've
But
given it
honestly,
time,
man, bro, it's too
Oh,
concerning.
yeah.
Too concerning. Because I'm thinking, bro, even if everything else is right, then you just have a goalkeeper who's just gonna just throw away the game. Like, very concerning, man.
I don't think I've
Bro.
seen a player on the professional stage choke like he choked during that whole Champions League.
Bro.
That Champions League
The
campaign,
Champions League thing was crazy, bro.
like
It
I've
was
never
crazy.
seen a
It
professional
was
footballer
crazy.
choke to that
It
level.
was crazy,
It was
bro.
back to back
It was crazy.
games.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
It was crazy, man. Honestly, it was absolutely crazy, man. And again, this season I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but nah, man. So that's a big problem. I think, again, I'm not going to go too much into the players that we need because I think we know. Positions we need. I think we know we need a lot of players on a lot of different positions. We know we need a striker. We know we need tens. We know we need central midfielders. We know we need wing backs.
So plural.
Yeah, bro. Everything with an S. Everything with an S. I don't even think I said strikers. Ideally, we need. You know what it is? Ideally, we need strikers, but I just don't think we'll get strikers. Do you get me? So I just said striker. Like, do you get me? But bro, we know that the club needs. Like, we know we need like several additions and we need several outgoings. But even just talking about some of the players here, I want to have a conversation. And again, we're going to talk about your captain as well. I want to have a conversation about my captain because I think Bruno Fernandes, there's been so many arguments. There's been so many arguments online regarding Bruno Fernandes. And I think I was saying this. He's such a... When you look at Manchester United fans, forget even rival fans, but when you look at Manchester United fans, Bruno Fernandes is such a divisive topic amongst the Manchester United fan base. Like, you've got some people who think he's world class. You've got some people who think he's way below what we need, like he's way below par. So I've never seen such extremes. Like, some people literally think world class, some people think rubbish. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, wow, like I've never seen the Manchester United fan base this divided over one player. Like, it's actually crazy when you're looking at the extremes of either end of the arguments. And I think yesterday, obviously, you saw Bruno Fernandes being able to produce what Bruno Fernandes can produce. And that's match-winning moments. And regardless of what you think about Bruno is capable of winning you matches. Like, when we're talking about quality, he's able to produce like huge moments of quality that can get us out of trouble. That's undeniable. Now, I think where a lot of people often get onto Bruno or they're critical of Bruno is the fact that, okay, we know that you can produce those moments of quality, but when we're talking about other aspects of the game, when we're talking about control, when we're talking about keeping possession, when we're talking about being more efficient with how you're passing and picking your moments to try and to open up the defense and not being reckless on the ball, these are the things that we believe are also costing us. So we're thinking, you know what, you're getting us out of the jail with all of these brilliant moments, but you're also costing us in a different way as regards to how it is that you're playing. And I think that's where a lot of the arguments stem from, whereas like you've got players who are looking at it and thinking, well, yeah, I mean, you've got fans who are looking at it and you're thinking, well, look at the stats. Look at the amount of goals, look at the amount of this, look at the amount of assists, look at the amount of times he stepped up when we needed him. But then you've also got people looking at it and thinking, you know what? If Manchester United actually want to move forward like how we want to move forward, can we have a player like Bruno Fernandes? And that sounds crazy because you look at the goals he scored and you look at the assists and you're thinking, how dare you guys say that? How dare you guys say that, fam? Like, do you get me? Like, he's the guy that's getting you out of trouble. But I think when you do watch full matches, then obviously you can also see that, you know what? Yeah, there are insufficiencies and there are things that are worrying when it comes to Bruno's overall game. I think from my perspective, I think I've seen either side go too far. I've seen both sides go too far. I think people who don't like Bruno or think that United need to get rid of Bruno, I think sometimes they fail to acknowledge the things that he's done. Like, because again, Bruno has won us matches, and Bruno is someone that can step up. He is someone that can produce high moments of quality. And I think sometimes, like, people are too dismissive of they're too dismissive of the things that Bruno's capable of doing. But also at the same time, I think the people who say, Bruno, if there's one player that you can never criticize post Ferguson, is Bruno. He's the one that's always getting us out of trouble. He's the one that always delivers, etc., etc. I think also, let me not say you're not being honest, because I don't want to dictate to you as regards to how it is that you feel, but I think you need to actually try to look at it from the other lens and watch Bruno match in week out. Like, watch his total matches. Don't just watch the goals, don't just watch the assists, but watch the overall play. And I think you'll be able to see where a lot of the concerns come from. Like, you can see the lack of discipline, you can see the recklessness on the ball, you can see the lack of efficiency, and you can look at those things and say, okay, you know what, I can understand what the concerns are. So I think both sides, sometimes they go to either extreme. I think one side is there and they're saying, you know what, Bruno, world class, best thing that's happened to Manchester United post Ferguson. We need him. Like, he continuously delivers. There's nothing wrong with him at all, etc. And then you've got the other side who look at him and say, Bruno's absolutely rubbish, man. Like, yeah, he should never play for Manchester United. He's a disgrace to the shirt. And I think both sides, they go to either extreme. And I think, yeah, you have to acknowledge the quality that Bruno can produce on a football pitch, but also you have to acknowledge the weaknesses, and you have to look at it from the other side and say, okay, I can understand why people are critical of some of these performances, because I can see these weaknesses. And I think, yeah, Bruno's someone he's so divisive amongst the Manchester United fan base. And I wanted to get your opinion on him from someone who's not a Manchester United fan, from the outside looking in. Because funnily enough, I've also seen things like both quite divisive outside the fan base, because I've seen some rival fans where they say, oh, you know what? Well, if there's one Manchester United player that I will fear, is Bruno, to be fair, because I know he can come up with the quality. And then I've seen other players where other rival fans say, nah, man, Bruno, nah.
Yeah, I don't recognize him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no, I feel like your end, like what you said at the end, I think is probably explains him so well. Well, I feel like he's definitely a player that when you're playing against United, he's definitely the one player that, or one of the players that you think, oh, this is a play that, if we're not going to get results today, this is the player that's most likely going to be the reason why we don't get results today, because he does have that quality in him. But I think overall, when I think of Bruno, man, I think the word that comes to mind is anchoring. And I feel like why I say anchoring is, I feel like if you're a United fan, and obviously, you're in the context of like your club, and like you want when you come to be successful, when you come to win games, Bruno can very easily anchor you to, he's a great world-class player, because he's a player that's going to most 9 times out of 10 be the reason why you do win games or you do get points, because he's going to get the goal or the assist. But why I also say anchoring is that I've always kind of said it with Bruno as well, as I also don't think he's the caliber of player where he himself, with all of the flaws he also does have, including like, as well as like his like strengths, is good enough to be in that like elite caliber player. Like I don't think Bruno is in a United team that's competing for Premier League titles. I genuinely don't think that. I feel like where he is now is like he's better than where you guys currently are, so he shines. But if you guys were competing for titles, I feel like he'd be the player that you'd be like, you're good, but you also aren't consistently good enough to also justify you always playing. You'd have other players that would be just as good as him or better that you would want to play ahead of him, because they can give you a more sustainable 8 out of 10 every game. Whereas Bruno might give you a 9, he might give you a 4. He might give you a 9, he might give you a 6. Like, I think he's that type of player as well, which is why I feel like, depending on like your that kind of like your perspective of where you stand as a fan, I feel like you can very easily look at him as your savior, or you can look at him as he's the worst player in the world because you don't rate him. But like, I agree with you that I think the truth is really in the middle. Like, I don't think Bruno's a bad footballer. I think he has a lot of quality, but I don't think he's consistently good enough, or his strengths are high enough where it's like there's some players that they have their weaknesses, but you're like, your strengths are just so elite that yes, you might just try spin on the halfway line and try throw that ball up the pitch, regardless of who's making a run. You might do that sometimes, but you understand every game you're getting a goal, every game you're getting assist. I feel like he's also not. Maybe he's like the beginning of his career United, he was maybe a bit more like that. But I think the Bruno that we see now is definitely a lot more. Is one also of the more inconsistent players in your team as well. He's also part of the problem, I feel like, from the outside. Which is like overall, I feel like, yeah, good player, decent player, but I don't think he's definitely in like world-class conversations, but I also don't think he's that rubbish way people say. That's why I feel like it's boring, but I feel like the truth with me is like he actually just is a good player. Like, but he's not elite or world class is my kind of take. That's why again I kind of feel like it's where you kind of it's anchored to like what I think your expectations are. If you're just a fan who's just drowning and you're hungry for someone to save you, then Bruno will save you. Understand? So you can now look at him as your savior. But if you're a fan who you're used to competing for titles now, you might look at Bruno and say, yeah, you're a good player, but understand this other guy that's also in that position, you can happily see you on the bench. Like, I also think he's that type of player as well. So I think it just depends on where you are, where your club is in terms of what they're competing for. If that makes sense, because again, like I feel like Bruno reminds me of so many players that I've kind of seen over the year. It's kind of like with like a lot of United players right now, with where you guys currently are, where it's like you have those players that like on their day they can be so good, but I feel like what really separates when we start talking about world class players is like when even the rest of the United team is maybe not doing what they need to, and you still know that Bruno today is gonna still give me a good game. Understand? Like I feel like too many players is like they can be amazing or they can just drop an absolute stink fest, and I feel like he's capable of that, which is why I wouldn't put him in world class kind of conversation. So yeah, I think for me it's just really about like your perspective of what you're looking for from him, and like what your expectations are from him. I feel like that's kind of how you kind of judge him, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like my overall, like me being honest on my opinion on Bruno as a footballer, like from the outside. So yeah,
and I think that's why a lot of the time, like I said, you get two extremes because people, they analyze the game differently, they have different expectations, and you have a group of fans who will say, you know what, he's world class, look at the amount of times he's got us out of trouble. And then you'll look at other fans and they'll say, nah, he's not good enough, look at his overall game. And I think both sets of fans rather, they go to either extreme. And I think, Bruno's, for me, he's clearly not a rubbish player. Clearly not. Like, do you get me? There's a lot of players who don't have the quality that Bruno has, and they're not able to do some of the things that he can do. But also, I'm a big believer of not just looking at stats, not just looking at moments. And I think, like you mentioned, if you are one of those players where, you know what, there's weaknesses in your game, and maybe in other aspects you are lacking, the benefits that we reap from that need to be very, very, very high. Like they need to be of a certain level where we're like, you know what, we'll put up with that. Like we'll put up with that. I remember I think Gary Neville, he spoke about Ronaldo, Cristiano when he came to Manchester United, and it got to the point where it was just like, you know what, it's all right if you don't track back. You don't need to track back. Like, because what you can produce is so high that we're all right with it. Like, you actually can just do your thing and we will do all of the dirty work. Like, it's actually okay. Like, do you get me? And I think there's certain players where, again, they might have certain things at in their game where you'll look at it and you'll think, you know what, we don't believe, you know, you're doing enough in this department or this department. But because of what it is that you can consistently produce week in, week out, not just here and there, but consistently.
And you know what is I feel like that consistently is such a key, because even me, speaking about my team, like I love like Martinelli. Like, it's not even like he's one of my favorite players. All the criticism he gets, but when I look at him and I look at Saka, I feel like that's like the clearest example of when you see a player receive the ball and 9 times out of 10, are you making the right decision, or you making the right pass, or you making the key action, or are you running into a blind alley, or you running out of play, or you getting tackled? And I feel like too many people watch football just ignoring all of the times when the action was wrong and he got an assist. You got to go, oh, he's amazing. But it's like before he got that goal and assist, how many times did he get the ball and make the wrong choice, or get the ball and it didn't go where it should have gone? Does that make sense? I feel like not enough people kind of like have that like constant like what's the word I'm looking for? Like constant, like this, like kind of judgment on a player's like 90 minutes, and not just the spike of when he gets a goal, the spike when he gets an assist. And I feel like Bruno kind of really highlights. I feel like fans were like that, where it's like you got a goal, so they will ignore the fact that that's like he tried to play that through ball 10 times and it didn't make sense, but he got the goal now, so he had a great game. I feel like it's too basic if that's how you analyze football.
Like that's not how you should analyze football, in my opinion. Like you shouldn't look at the game at that. You've got to look at the overall game. You've got to look at everything, and then you've got to weigh it up. And again, like I said, if you've got certain weaknesses in your game, but you're producing a certain caliber of maybe like attacking output every single match, where you're looking at it and you're thinking, you know what, we'll take it. There's weaknesses here, but we'll take it. Then you're like, fair enough. But I think Bruno, again, there's no denying his quality. There's no denying that he has been able to produce big moments for Manchester United. But then I think, again, when you look at efficiency, when you look at aspects of his overall game, I think if you just are a fan who's analyzing the game fairly, you'll be able to see that, you know what, Bruno, I understand why people criticize you. Do you get me? And again, I think some people do go over the top 100%. I think when people try to act like, oh, Bruno, he's rubbish, etc., I think, well, that's not true. Like, but at the same time, when people just are willing to just bypass all of the weaknesses and bypass analyzing the whole game, and they choose just to ignore things, because I think that's what a lot of fans do. They choose to ignore things and they just look for highlights. They look for moments and they say, we're going to ignore everything else. And when you do that, then yeah, of course, when you can just look at the stat sheet, you're going to say, okay, well, look at what he's produced. But also you need to watch the overall game. You need to see all aspects of things. And also, again, that output needs to be of such a level. If you are going to bypass other things, if you're going to look over other things, look past other things, the output needs to be at a really high level. And I think partially that's why when Bruno first came, because of the numbers, because of the type of numbers he was producing, people are like, yeah, man.
Yeah, it made it hard for people who maybe even saw through the numbers. Because it was like, I hear what you're saying, man. But
bro.
Hey, man.
These numbers are crazy. Like, do you get me? Yeah, you're looking at it and you're thinking these numbers are crazy. So it's just like, So if you're producing that all the time and you're winning matches and winning matches and winning matches, then it's much more easy to look past it. But when that's not the case, then that's when people are going to be more critical. And it's interesting as well, because I think also people have like similar views, like, and I mean from like a divisive standpoint when it comes to him being a good captain, because I see some fans who say he's a great captain, he's a great leader. Look at how he interacts with the youth players. Look at the moments that he stepped up. He's always responsible. Like he will come out after a bad performance. He'll do the interview, like he doesn't hide away. And then you see other people who say, nah, he's petulant. He's always complaining. Like, sometimes when you want him to stand up and be the person who has composure, he's not that. He's acting like a child. That's not a Manchester United captain, etc. So then you see another clash where it's just like some people think he's a good captain, some people think he's a bad captain. And like I said, I think Bruno, honestly, like it's been a long while since I've seen a player this divisive as regards to how people go to such different extremes when they talk about him. It's actually crazy. But yeah, Bruno, ultimately, he's not going anywhere. And I would hope that he's able to like adapt to Amorim's system even better, and he's able to work within a system and he can flow within the system. And that's another question as well, because, you know, when you spoke about, obviously, when you've got a certain caliber of players around you, it's easy for you to stand out. But also, it'll be interesting to see if he did have a certain caliber of players around him who are 8 out of 10s every week. Will that raise his level? Will that make, if he's got players around him who are performing to a certain level, will that help him be held more accountable as regards to, you know what, when you're playing with this caliber of players, you can't just be spamming these passes like how you were doing before. Like before, you can get away with it, but now you actually need to be more disciplined, etc. So, because I know some people as well, they mention like how he plays for Portugal is not like how he plays for Manchester United. And it will be interesting to see, oh, you know what, if he had certain players around him, will that change anything? I don't know what your thoughts are. Obviously, like in order to see that on a week by week basis,
you have to
like it would actually have that. In order to in order to make that judgment, you need to see it on a week by week basis. So this is purely hypothetical. But do you think he's someone who could adapt?
You know what it is? Because I hear when people say like how he plays for Portugal, and I think he's definitely a lot more disciplined. But again, like I don't know. Maybe there's something about me where it's just like I also feel like definitely playing with better players definitely like will help you shine more. But I also feel like so much of football too has to be on like your own individual decision making as well. And I feel like that's my issue with Bruno. Where it's like it's all nice if because the player next to you is just as good, now you might think a bit more to pass to him. But I feel like you should think more to pass the player next to you, even if he wasn't as good as you, or if he wasn't that caliber, because that's the pass that makes more sense. Does that make sense? I feel like that's my issue with him sometimes. It's like,
is there like, also an argument to say though that you might just not trust him? Like you might look at
yeah,
and say,
yeah. I have a better chance of making that crazy pass. Then that is a fair point. That is a fair point. That is a fair point.
When you're looking at City, for example, and you're looking at like let's take someone like a KDB, and when he's looking and he's seeing Bernardo Silva next to him and like Prime Gundogan next to him and Mahrez next to him, he's like, yeah, I can trust all you guys. Whereas maybe Bruno's like, ugh.
Yeah, my passing this ball, I may not get back. I might have to run back because it might be a counter attack.
Because I think him and Rashford, for example, they had a good connection when things were flowing, and I think Bruno trusted Rashford. Like, do you get me? Like, I think when Rashford was doing what he was doing, he trusted Rashford. I think, like, so maybe there's an argument, and again, it's hard to say. Like, all
I don't. What's your kind of round up on the Bruno thing? What's your how good? Because I also feel like maybe the Portugal thing is also overplayed a bit as well. Because I don't watch him for Portugal too and be like, this guy's amazing. Like he's more sensible. He makes more sensible passes. But I also feel like what makes him the Bruno that's even worth having these conversations about. He doesn't really have that as much for Portugal because he's a lot more reserved. But yeah.
I think from a discipline standpoint, it's much better. I think it's definitely much better from a discipline standpoint. And he still does get his goals. He still does get his assists. So it's not like his numbers just disappear. Like he still does get his numbers. But I just think it's from a discipline standpoint. But I think, again, international football is so much more harder to judge because of the lack of frequency. And even just it's so much more of kind of like especially when you're talking about tournaments, for example, you're looking at it's a results based, like football is results based generally, but what I mean is that you've got you're playing less games, there's a smaller sample size, and it's about like purely just getting through, if that makes sense. Like, whereas I think when you're having a league all over the season, I think for a 38 league season, you think, okay, there's probably only we need to pick our games where we win and we don't play well, but we can't necessarily win the league playing like this. Whereas I think in international football, you might look at it and say, you know what, we just need to get over the line. I remember when Portugal won the Euros, Euro 2016, I think they drew all of their group games, if I'm not mistaken. I think they got through by they came third in their group and they were able to get through being third. And then I remember games went to extra time, penalties, and they were able to just get their way through. And then obviously they beat France in the final 1-0. And but they didn't do anything amazing, where it was just like, okay, you know what, it's a tournament, it's tournament football, like these things can happen. So I think sometimes international football is a bit harder to judge. But Bruno's it's an interesting one, bro. But I'm just gonna round it off very quickly as well, just because of time. But Manchester United players, I think we're looking at it. I've spoken about Højlund. Yeah, man, very concerning, very, very concerning. We're looking at it and we're thinking, ish, do you get me? I think Garnacho as well. I think probably he's gonna go in the summer. I think for PSR, I think they're gonna have to sell him, etc. Casemiro, I don't know what's gonna happen with that because
he said, "I'm not fucking living." I'm not fucking living. That's what he said.
So it's all of that. But one thing I will say as well, though, is that I think it just also rounding this whole Manchester United segment off. I think it's very clearly evident that just the environment that Manchester United have created is just really bad, because it's not a coincidence that players leave and they all of a sudden start balling. You're looking at Anthony at Real Betis. And yeah, I know it's a different league. I know, the way they play football is different, etc., etc. But still, like you can look at him and you can say, you know what? There's a spring in your step. Like you're affecting games differently to how things were when you were at Manchester United. And I think there's so many examples where you can look at it and you think, rah, a player leaves Manchester United and they start balling. And it's very clear that the culture that's been established, the environment that's been established, it's just very dark, man. Things are dark. Like, yeah, it's just very, very dark. So, yeah, bro, that's Manchester United. Moving on to Arsenal, bro.
Oh, look at the time.
Moving on to Arsenal. Hold up there a minute. Moving on to Arsenal, bro. Hey, I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna start off by saying, yeah? I'm gonna let you just speak your thoughts just freely. You don't need to go through everything like how I've got through everything. I had a lot to get off my chest. My owners were jarring me, bro. So if you don't want to go deeply into the Cronkies like too much, then you don't need to. But I think what I'm going to ask you is that Arsenal in the position that they are currently, when you look at the ownership, when you look at the manager, and when you look at the players, and then also the extra thing I'll add for you is that when you look at the injuries and the quote unquote luck, because I think that's been a thing that's been a lot of your fans have been talking about, that this season we've just been unlucky. I think when you look at the ownership, management, players, and quote unquote being unlucky, what do you think is not even what do you think is the main reason? How would you proportion the blame? How would you proportion the blame? I think that's the question for you. Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. And yeah, man, on the conversation of owners, man, like I feel like the Cronkies, they've just really put us through a blender. Because obviously, I guess they came in, it wasn't as clear as them just coming and loading us with debt. Obviously, I guess initially they just had a stake in the club. They didn't have full ownership. I think that only happened in like 2018. But even it's actually so sad that like as soon as like they kind of got their foot through the door, like 2007 is like really the decline of Arsenal as an institution of like actually being successful and winning big trophies. I think from that perspective, then you have to say that they definitely haven't succeeded in the aim of what you would say the fans' aims would be, which is to win major competitions and compete for the Premier League, compete for the Champions League. I feel like from that point of view, they've definitely failed us. Like I feel like initially growing up, man, I remember like being in school, I'll look around and just be like, my club is actually never going to be in a position ever in my lifetime to win another Premier League or a Champions. Like I genuinely didn't believe that we would ever be close to, because I could see how penny pinching these lot were. How these lot were, as long as Wenger got us in the top 4, they were happy. Understand? Even when we said, please, Wenger doesn't want to leave, but can you please make the decision for him? Clearly, he's not going to make this choice. Show some ambition. Like, please, let's move on. Let's go to a new era. They never made that choice until it was so clear that he even himself had to even pretty much step down and say, the fans are blaming me for everything. And they need to see that clearly I'm even covering you guys behind the scenes. So obviously, when he now leaves, is now when we see the reality of, we've been terrible. Wenger has really been holding this together for us to even be this team that's even getting into the top 4 every year. Because we even started taking it for granted. I remember after Bayern gave us like 10-2 a couple of times in a row, I said, I don't even want to be in the Champions League anymore. Understand? Then the reality set in. We go a few years without champs. I'm like, okay, you know what? Even if we're not gonna win it, I just want to be there. So you go through the cycles of being a fan, right? But jokes aside, I feel like where we are now is like where the Cronkies finally got to a point where it looked like, okay, cool, they're actually backing Arteta. Our point I always made was when I'd always judge Arteta relative to Emery, I'd always say that I genuinely believe that a big reason why they gave him as much investment as they gave him is because they believed in what he was trying to do. And they were like, you know what, cool, we'll give you the money to go on this journey. And it just kind of feels like maybe they got to the point where like last summer where they said, you know what, we have now invested what we think we're willing to invest to win this Prem. So at this point now, you need to now make this difference up. And I feel like they kind of made that choice looking at it now at the worst possible time. it looked like we were at the kind of point where it's like, you now just need to make the right key decision to push us over that line. And that's when they remembered who they were and they started penny pinching again. Because then rather than actually just doing what the club actually needed us to do in terms of like actually having enough squad depth, they then started letting players go out on loan, selling players. Like, so it's all good, like sell players, but like make sure that you're actually making sure that the ultimate aim of trying to win something is still at the forefront of all of your decision making. And it just felt like last summer, it just wasn't the case. We then stumble into this season now. You know, in January, we're still in it. Like, you even look at it, like, even at the time when, like, we're like, what, just like, it got to a point where it was like 4 points off Liverpool now, even towards the end of Jan now. We're even saying, even at that point, you had the whole of January now to say, you can't get Sesko, you can't get Isak, you can't get the main prime strikers. No one is saying that you need to go and get the 70, 60. Brother, please bring in a body. Like, I don't like when clubs do this whole thing of like, because we can't get the number one target, no other players exist. Bro, one of the things that's annoyed me the most, like over the last couple of weeks, is when I look at like teams like Villa, I look at teams like Forest, and I see the kind of business they were doing to even just get Asensio's or like get Rashford on loan, like getting these players on loan or cheap amounts is just sensible club decision. They didn't make choices that's going to allow hamper them. That means in the summer, because that's what they'll sell us. They'll say, "Oh, we didn't want to do any business in January because we're keeping all the money for the summer." But again, it's bullshit because it's like clearly there was not enough bodies there, which is now where I say that what took out all of that is that whole kind of summary to say the majority of my blame goes to the owners, man. Like again, I feel like the Arteta outers who they've been waiting for this moment, they're gonna jump on it, and again, he deserves some criticism too. The players, I definitely agree with that what you said. We've been so unlucky, man. We've actually lost our starting front three. And then even the players that would even come in to even supplement the starting front three have also been injured as well. Like the injuries that we've had this season has actually been crazy. It feels like the last couple of seasons where we haven't got injuries has all kind of just caught up with us all at once. And then now this team that was relatively fit for the last couple of years that had taken us to this position where we were in title races has just fallen apart, like midway through the season, where we're putting players like Marino up front, like putting players like Marino off. Oh, bro, it pains me, man. Oh my God, it actually pains me. Because it was even funny when you're talking about Højlund and not making runs. And I was even thinking, I can't even blame Marino because he's not a striker. Because again, I'm watching him play up in that position. I'm like, brother, like, people were talking about Havertz, but you know, Havertz like he got on the end of opportunities because at least he has movement. He knows how to play as a striker. We're playing a CDM up front, and that's our reality. We're having managers say, "Oh, we didn't need to play more defensive today because Arsenal don't have a striker." I said, "Oh, you're not even insulting my club. It's just the reality." That is
Nuno actually just came out and said, "Yeah,
it was actually facts." He wasn't even trying to take the piss. He said,
"Yeah, no, he went trolling.
They have no strikers.
Yeah,
they have no strikers, bro. Arsenal Football Club in March, bro. Like we have no strikers. Like we're going from now to the end of the season, and Arteta, I don't know what we might have to try the under 21, under 18. I don't know what striker we're gonna have to kind of put in that position because clearly Marino's not working there either. So that's why I feel like ultimately I'm just now sitting here today, just like my season is over. And I feel like I can blame Arteta. I can say maybe a bit early in the season, yeah, Odegaard was injured. You should have played Nwaneri. I can say that. I will again before I even say that, I'll say you shouldn't even be in a position when Nwaneri needs to be the player that comes in because Odegaard is out. That's already your first mistake. Saka gets injured. We already say even before he goes down, this brother is playing. Bro, I've been saying it since for like 2 years now, bro. I've been saying it. This guy is playing too many games of football. Like, can you please just bring me somebody so he can rest sometimes? No, man. We ran him into the ground, and now we're gonna even have to see how he even comes back. That's even my other concern. If he doesn't come back the same player, bro, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna hand in my resignation to TwoUpFront. I think that's gonna be my 13th reason, bro. If Saka returns to my football club and he's not the same Saka that left, I'm not streaming anymore, brother. I'm not streaming anymore. I'm letting you know right now. Because yeah, man, the way the owners and the way the club has just mismanaged our squad building over the last few years has just been terrible, man. Because yeah, that's why I feel like overall, yeah, again, Arteta from this point now, I can't blame him at all, if I'm being honest. I don't know if maybe there's an angle to maybe he needs to try figure something else out. But I feel like where he currently is now with the options he has, he needs to be super creative to get us just to cement this top 4 race. Because that's genuinely what I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking we need to now I need to even see evidence that we can put the ball in the back of the net. Because as of right now, the last few games, I don't believe that we're capable of putting the ball in the back of the net, man. Because we literally do not have a player to do it. So, yeah, all overall, if I had to attribute blame, I'm saying, yeah, the overwhelming majority goes to the ownership and just like the decision making, the lack of bringing in players. No one said you can't bring in Isak. That's completely fine. Go on, even like Marlon. Like, you can't. Sometimes there's no players like Marlon in January that you can't bring in to just make sure that you have strikers, you have attacking options off the bench, you have players that can come in. So, yeah, all in all, bro, like I think we've just been ran terribly for the last couple of years. It kind of feels like we got to the point where the owner said, you know what, we weren't in the top 4 anymore. We need to do something to get back into it. We then overachieved, started competing, and then they said, you know what, we're now competing, so therefore we're in top 4. So then they just completely took their foot off the gas, and now we're where we are right now in it, where it's just a season that just seems like an absolute waste. Like, yeah, luck has definitely played a part, but I'm not really trying to put too much towards luck because I feel like you make your luck with the decisions you make. Understand? You can't go into the season letting Fabio Vieira go on loan, selling Smith Rowe, and then now Odegaard gets injured, and you're telling me, yeah, man, Nwaneri, strap up your boots, brother. You're the next up. You're the guy that's now meant to come in and fill those shoes. Like, again, it's just horrible squad building. Clearly just didn't think it through. And yeah, now it's come back to bite us. Because yeah, now a year that Liverpool, they've given us opportunities. They've said, hey man, if you guys want to put a run together, we'll make this an interesting title race. But you know, the owners, they put us in a position where we don't have the facilities for that, big man. And yeah, man, that's the end of my.
I've got a question for you, bro.
Yeah, I'm listening.
So, as regards to the squad building,
yeah,
how much blame do you put on Arteta for that as well? Because I think it's very clear, obviously, that the ownership, they've not been good enough. They've definitely let you down. Like, I agree with that 100%. They've definitely let you down. Defo. That's not up for dispute, 100%. But yeah, as regards to the squad building and some of the decisions that have been made, how much blame should we put on Arteta? And the reason why I say that is because I think from the outside looking in, I look at, for example, Havertz, 65 million, obviously was signed initially to be a midfielder, ended up deploying him up front. I think, yeah, Arsenal fans, they have spoken a lot about the need for an out-and-out striker, someone who's a goal-getter, who can get you goals, like who's just a straight out-and-out 9. I look at, obviously, in the summer, Calafiori, I look at Marino, and yeah, I think altogether, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think you're looking at around 70 mil for the both of them. I think Calafiori was like 40 odd, and Marino's like 30 odd. So that's like 70 mil. And many people would argue that your defense shouldn't have been a priority. Not to say that you didn't need to improve it, or maybe you didn't need more cover, but as regards to what should have been a priority in the window, that shouldn't have necessarily been a priority. And you should have maybe looked to have used your money more smarter when it came to what positions you are going to prioritize and how much money you're going to spend. And I think, yeah, we looked at Arsenal's defense last season, and a lot of us, we praised it and we said that was very solid. And I think maybe, because I know a lot of Arsenal fans, you've spoken about, in that 22-23 season, a big reason why your attack was doing what it was doing was because of Gabriel Jesus and like his ability to be able to, you know, just not just get goals, but his trickery, his ability to create, to disrupt defenses, especially when you're up against a low block, like the things that he can do, it was able to create more opportunities for the team as a whole, and your attack looked like just much more sharp. And my question is, should Arteta have looked at his squad and said, you know what, we are going to try and prioritize those forward positions, rather than saying, oh, you know what, I just want to make sure that defensively we're even more solid, even though you were already solid, or defensively we have more cover, even though, you know, you did have players there. And then obviously he brought in Marino as well. And then obviously, as regards to Marino being a striker, and it's very early days because he's not been at the club for long. As regards to him being a striker, of course, he's not a striker. But even before that, when he has played in midfield, he has been underwhelming. So when you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, well, you spent 30 odd on him, you spent 40 odd on Calafiori, who, again, I'm not saying is a bad player at all, but it's a thing where it's like, should you have prioritized other positions? And then you look at Havertz as well, and you're looking at 65 million there, and you're thinking, was that a mistake? So is there an argument to say Arteta should have made better decisions? Of course, I'm not exactly sure how much, like what the exact influence he has when it comes to transfers, but I believe that he's got at least a significant amount. Should he have made better decisions when it came to squad building? And is he partly to blame for the position Arsenal are currently?
He 100% is to blame, and I think this is where I always kind of struggle against, because with me and like with the nuance in it. I think again with kind of how things are played, I think 100%. Now that we can 100% say that yes, he has made mistakes, and he probably could have allocated funds that he's allocated in X, maybe in Y, and that would have served us better. But why I also kind of struggle with that sometimes too is, one, I feel like I always kind of I look at like transfers not as like from like I think you have to look at transfers like as a percentage of like all of the players you bring in. And I feel like from that kind of starting point, I feel like in general, even when a lot of people have not supported or understood transfers, overall, I think it's come out to be the right choice, and he's come out to be right in the end of it, even if maybe it's not the first year. But overall, I feel like we've made good transfers. Is my first thing. Two, I feel like it's the problem with the club. I feel like the initial kind of point of like our club maybe also not investing the way it should is that like we also shouldn't be happy to be here, that because we spent 65 million on Havertz is now why we can't go and get a striker. Does that make sense? It's not like Arsenal have spent over £1 billion in the last couple of years. We spent relative to what Spurs have spent, what United have spent. It's all relative to what our rivals around us have spent, kind of thing. So it's kind of like if a player you bring in like a Havertz 65 doesn't work out, I don't think that's now excuse for the board now why you now haven't got a striker because Havertz at 65 mil didn't work out, because it's not like it's like I don't know if my point is making sense, but it's just like the issue is like, I think we should also be spending more in the first place. So it shouldn't be like I think it's sad that we have to be so flawless with every transfer. That's now where you can now blame Arteta, where it's like you now with the consequences of you cannot afford mistakes, you have to now get all of these transfers right. But from an overall of like a manager making transfers, it's like if 70% of your transfers have worked out, I'm now not gonna like go overboard on the 20 or 30% that don't, because again, there's managers that like Pep that 50% of his transfers aren't working out, but it don't matter because he's gonna go get another player there anyway. So again, it's that kind of like that balance in the blame. But I definitely agree that he deserves criticism, that he could have definitely spent better. But I'm also not like a stick out beating with, because it's not like he's also spent ridiculous amounts in the wrong positions. Because overall, I think he's made the right signings. Does that make sense?
I mean, do you think in the summer, do you think he prioritized?
Oh, sorry. So and on that, so I was gonna answer that point too. Even from behind the scenes, what he's even like kind of looking like is that it's like it's not even like he's not prioritizing the strikers. It's like these the board, the people behind, they're just not getting these deals over the line. Like I think it's actually kind of like a fallacy now when people are like, he just wants 10 centre backs and he don't care about the striker. It feels like the last couple of years there's been clear strikers that we clearly wanted, but we haven't got the deals over the line. So it's kind of like I don't know where that kind of distinction. I know the Sesko one last year, he apparently really wanted that deal to go over the line. I think who was it a couple of years ago as well? Because I know I've heard it a couple of times where it's like there's been transfers where it's like Arteta or the words come out afterwards that we wanted him, but then the club, for whatever reason, haven't got the signing. So then comes out, he just wants centre backs. Again, I can't name every single player, but it's something I've heard enough times now to know that it's not like an active choice. Like he just doesn't want attackers. It's like these men are not getting these attacking signings over the line. If that makes sense.
Because you know where I think that narrative partially comes from as well. I think it also comes from your play style. So when you speak about the 22-23 season and how Arsenal were playing football, it was exciting, attacking. And then you look at 23-24 where he decided to be much more resolute, much more solid, have a stronger defensive foundation. And obviously, a lot of Arsenal fans were saying, I'm not sure about this. But then other fans were saying, you know what? Well, if we've got a better foundation, then that leads us to the title. If we're more defensively solid, that leads us to the title, then it's worth it. And then obviously there's been a lot of criticism for Arteta this season as regards to how he's approached certain games. So I think when people have seen, for example, the summer go by and you've bought a defender, you've bought a midfielder, but you've not bought like someone who can either take Martinelli's spot or compete with him, or you've not bought a 9, or you've not bought extra cover for Saka, I think people are looking at it and thinking, is this also a thing where because of how you're trying to play or how you're trying to get this title, you are not prioritizing those attacking positions? Like, is that something that is also in your decision making as regards to what the pecking order is when you're saying, you know what, I need another defender. Yeah, I need another defender, as opposed to, you know what, if maybe we don't have as much defensive cover, but we've got more attacking threat, then we'll be able to win games. But is his mentality, no, prioritize the defense first?
Yeah,
I'd rather have more and more. Yeah, more. Yeah. So I think that's where that analysis comes from a lot of the time when they're saying, oh, Arteta, like, is it a thing where it's like, okay, you know what? Ideally,
I think it is though as well, though, because even from Henry, yeah, go on.
Very, very quickly, bro. I'll let you go. Just very quickly, is it a thing where it's like, ideally, of course, in an ideal world, he would be able to have more defensive cover, have also strikers there, like, and etc. But given the circumstances where you have to maybe prioritize, has he prioritized the wrong thing? I think that's the question. Or has he not prioritized the attack enough? I think that's where a lot of Arsenal fans are maybe disappointed. I don't think they think that, oh, you know what, this guy is just against strikers.
But like, some people believe that, man. Some people actually believe that.
Yeah, okay. But, I don't think he's anti-striker. Like, do you get me? I don't think he's anti-striker. But I think there is a question to be asked as regards to, you know what, should you have prioritized this position more?
Yeah, I think where it's a bit difficult again. I don't want to like think like I'm just trying, like I'm overly trying to defend him, because again, criticism, when you want to criticize him. But I guess the logic of where I can kind of see where he's coming from as well is like, regardless, I know a lot of people rubbish Martinelli, like they think anyone can be better, but I do think there's also like an argument of like the type of play he wants in that attacking position as well to bench Martinelli is the Nico Williams that we wanted in the summer, but was never going to come unless Barca couldn't get him. So it's also like that caliber of attacking player too, I think, is also partially part of the problem, which I also don't think is an excuse, because I also think he's not the only attacking players, and there's other players that can be just as good as Martinelli to push him at least to make it a competition. So I think that's our Arsenal problem as a whole. But I think there is that kind of like that whole like paralysis through analysis kind of thing of like, unless it's the guy, I'm not going to do it. And I think that is that's a big part of the problem with the going after those attacking players as well, like just overall kind of thing. But honestly, I feel like the transfer that I think I'm the most disappointed, that I definitely attribute the most blame to Arteta, definitely is the Marino one, because I think that definitely was, I think even the Calafiori, like I think last year, our thing was, we're very good defensively. Our weakest position is definitely left back defensively. So I wasn't even too mad at the Calafiori kind of signing, if I'm being honest. I thought, cool, better than Zinchenko can give us what he gives us. I'm not mad at it. It's okay. Like, it's fine. But I think the Marino signing was where I think he really showed that he was going down this path of, I'm just trying to be more defensively solid and don't concede chances. Because in my head, Rice, he's done a decent job as an 8. My fingers was, please, Rice, you as your best position, you in your absolute best, and why you're worth 100 million is you sitting as a 6. That's like, if that means that you have to develop certain aspects of your game to make it more feasible, Arteta, please teach him and make sure he develops it, because that's where he's going to be worth the money. But if it's now Rice and Marino, and I think that's the transfer that I think he gets the most amount of blame in my eyes, because I think a different profile 8 there, and you accept that Rice is a 6, I'm a lot more calm. But I think it was that choice specifically of I'm going to bring in Marino and I have Rice, that Rice can play as the 8. I think that's where going forward as an attacking thing is where I think he deserves the blame. And that's why there's been a lot of smoke in him even before the injuries going forward, and like how kind of dull we are in attack. And again, I think it's those legacy decisions. That's where I think he definitely gets the blame. But I think now he's definitely, I'm not really looking at him at this point right now, just because, again, I feel like the club they've taken it out of his hands now, where it's just like, if a guy loses his front three attackers and then he has to play his CDM that he just bought in striker, then clearly that's just poor squad building. Like, you just gave him no choice at that point. So again, I definitely agree. I think the attacking lack of options, I think he definitely has to take some blame, probably just because he's trying to wait for this perfect unicorn play that's comprehensively better than Martinelli or comprehensively better than Havertz. Again, that's probably the mistake he's making. But I think as a club and just them two just being happy to be here and just saying, yeah, we're now in the top 4 positions now, so there's not really a drive, or, oh yeah, even though we've lost Jesus and Saka in January, you know that you already lost 2 of them and you still go through the window and you don't bring in a single attacker. I think, again, that's just a club that's just not serious, isn't it? That's a club that says, yeah, we might be potentially a title race, but it is what it is, isn't it? Like, we don't really care. I feel like that's what it says. Like, we're just being real. So I think that's why I say the overall majority of my blame definitely goes towards them, because I feel like, yeah, they did a good job up to a certain point, and I think they just took their foot off the gas. And that's where I'm at now, which is why I think overall, yeah, the season's done. Like, I think even like you said, I think we're in a similar position with Europe. we're in the what's it called, Champions League, but again, when Mourinho is leading the line for my team, how can I expect anything? So yeah, man, it's a very, very, very sad situation.
It's not great right now, man, for both two up front clubs. Very quickly, bro, because I'm conscious of time. A couple of things. So, firstly, as regards to Arteta, where are you at with him? So, like, if he doesn't win anything next season, do you believe that he should be sacked? Do you think that he deserves more time? Like, where are you at in that context? Like, yeah,
no, I think I'm definitely at, like, next year's his last year to win something major. Like, I feel like if he doesn't win anything major, then I think then I'll definitely be on the boat of, yeah, you've taken us this far, but I no longer believe. I think that's my thing. I think I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be like, oh my, like, I'm losing my head. It is what, isn't it? Like, I have no power. The club are gonna. That's also why I feel like people who are losing their head right now, I think you're wasting energy because he's not going anywhere. So at least wait until there's a chance that he might go. Then maybe start losing your head. Is my perspective on football. But I think next year is my kind of next year. This year will give you some circumstances, bad luck, bad decisions. We say, cool, you guys all regroup. You learn from this, and we give you one more chance to do something. But yeah, I think I'm one more year, just because, again, I'm also someone who I'll give him credit for where he's taken the club so far as well. Because yeah, man, before he came in, like I said, bro, I didn't see a title race in my future. So I'll give that guy at least one more chance to actually turn it around, because he has built his team now. And if they can get him the striker that we've all been waiting for this summer, and it still doesn't work, and I think there's just completely no excuse. This right now, sacking him now would be like Spurs sacking Jose before a cup final. That's how I feel. It's like, brother, like, you might as well give the guy a striker at this point and at least see what he can do. Like, so I think that's kind of like my perspective on it. But people that want him out, I also hear it, because you also have the problem with players' contracts are running, or players trying to stay. Like, do you want to strike while the iron is hot? So I hear all of those kind of points as well. But again, I also bet there's no guarantee that you get rid of him and you bring someone else in, and now they're gonna now win something. I don't think it's also that straightforward. So yeah, I think my kind of patience with him is like, yeah, I'm disappointed, but I'm not at a point where I'm like desperately he needs to go. But I think he's definitely needs like last legs for me now, just in terms of just, at the end of the day, it's football. So yeah, as well as good as you've done up to this point, if you can't get over the line, you might just not be the guy to go over the line, and you probably go do it somewhere else. I think he's a good manager. Like, it's just unfortunately maybe just the time, the circumstances, it just wasn't meant to be. So I think that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think this year I've kind of written it off already in my mind. It's like, is what it is, just somewhat to the end. And I think next year is like where, like, yeah, if you're not winning the league or champs, I think you need to go. I think even him, I'd hope he'd even say, I need to go at this point, because now I think what I don't like is when managers stay to the point where you start hurting the club, and that's what I think Wenger did. Where it's like, you stay too long now, where it's like, even maybe some players are in head and maybe someone else can do something with, you then stay, and then they then also leave, and now we're in a complete new rebuild. And that's what I really don't want to see happen. And we're definitely on the borderline of that. So I think that's why I think next year is like literally his last year, where within contracts it's still feasible that you might be able to convince some players to stay if the next name makes enough sense, kind of thing. So I think we're in that position now. It's definitely on the edge with Arteta. I'll say that. So
yeah. I think from my perspective, I think Arteta, he needs to get over the line. I think that's just like that's just the fact of the matter. Like he needs to get over the line. I think he's done a very good job. So like as regards to being able to build a team that can challenge, and I do think he's a talented manager. Like I definitely think he's a talented manager, but I think ultimately he needs to get it over the line. Like, and I think there's a disconnect between Arsenal fans because I think again there's a generational thing going on where some Arsenal fans, I think they grew up in the Emirates era where they remember, like I mentioned before, you selling all your players to City. And yeah, like, do you get me? Things just being a complete and total mess. Like they remember all of that. And they're like, oh, you know what? When I was in school, things were horrible. And now we're challenging. And I never thought that we would get to this position. But like this challenging isn't the mountaintop.
Yeah.
Like that's not the mountaintop. Like I think there's another generation of fans who, again, they remember the Invincibles. They remember when Arsenal were winning league titles. So whilst the younger generation of fans, they're looking at it and they're thinking, well, you guys have forgotten where we were when we were under Wenger and it was the Emirates era and things weren't going well and we were the banter club. I think the older generation are saying, well, I remember when we were winning titles and we won the title in 2002 and we won we did the Invincibles happen in 04 and we won the double in 98 and etc. So they're referring back to those standards. So they're looking at this Arteta period and they're saying, you know what? I'm happy that we've been able to raise the level, but this isn't our destination. And I think a lot of other fans, they just don't understand that properly. And I think if you're looking at Arteta and you believe that, oh, you know what, he's the person that's going to get things over the line, like I do think next season he will do it, then fair enough. But I think some fans, I think they are just kind of, again, they have this mentality of, well, look what he's built, look what he's been able to look where he's been able to get to, and they're kind of just giving like this free pass of just like and they're working with this assumption that this moment is gonna last forever. And that's not how football works. Like you need to strike whilst the iron's hot. Like you need to make the most of your moment. Again, we've spoken about Poch with Tottenham, got to a Champions League final, challenge for the title, 86 points that Tottenham team got. They didn't win the league. And then we saw what happened after. Like these moments don't last forever. And I think what's not also helped, what's not helped Arteta's case as well is that I think whilst he's been challenging, he's not been able to pick up trophies, even if it's not the Prem. Even if it's not the Prem, I think he's not been able to pick anything else up. And I think that's really hurt him because I think at least if you've done that, you've got things to show for your tenure. And also from a player's perspective, I think that helps with their winning mentality that you've been able to get over the line in certain competitions. Like I think you can't underestimate that factor. Ferguson, when he came to Manchester United 1986, obviously he'd worked wonders with Aberdeen. He was able to win multiple league titles in the Scottish League that's dominated by Celtic and Rangers, won a European trophy by beating Real Madrid. Till this day, it's still the last time Real Madrid have lost a European final, when Ferguson beat them with Aberdeen. So you can see what he done. Like he done a madness, but he still came to Manchester United. And bro, after a few seasons,
when did he win his first trophy?
He won his first trophy in 1990. So he came in 1986, but his first season was this. I mean, his first full season was the season after. So he came in 86. First full season was 87, 88. He won his first trophy in 1990, and before that, bro, the pressure was on him. I mean, signs were being held up. They were saying Tara, Fergie. They were saying it's been 3 years and no improvement. Like, bro, they were on him. And then literally 1990, he won the FA Cup. 1991, he won the European Cup Winners' Cup. 1992, he won the League Cup and the UEFA Super Cup. And 1993, he won the Premier League. So he literally went on a run from 1990. Like they were calling for him to get sacked. And then literally he went on a trophy run. 1990 FA's Cup, 1990 he won the FA Cup, 1991 European Cup, Winners' Cup, 1992 League Cup and UEFA Super Cup, and then 1993 Premier League. And then after 1993, we know what happened. Like, he dominated the 90s and 2000s, and obviously got the title in 2011 and 2013. So he was close, and that's Ferguson with everything that he's done in Aberdeen and everything that he succeeded. He proved that he can win trophies, and he was still close to getting the sack. And then obviously when he got the FA Cup, people are like, okay, cool, all right, cool. You've got us a trophy. We like that. And then the next year, another trophy. And then 1992, before he won the Premier League in 1993, he came second in the league. United fell away like towards the end of the season, and Leeds ended up winning the title, but he still won 2 trophies that year. And then the next season, he went on to win the league. So trophies really help. Like, you look at loads of examples. I've already said it before. Like Klopp, when he was challenging City, all the times he challenged, the times that he didn't win the league, he won trophies. 2019, obviously, he got the Champions League. 2022, they won the FA Cup and League Cup. And last season, he won the League Cup. So they were able to win things. City, 2011, they won the FA Cup before they went on to win the league the next year. So I think you've got to win trophies. Even Mourinho at Real Madrid, I remember 2011, won the Copa del Rey. Then next season, they went on to win the league, and they set records for the points total. And I think, yeah, like the fact that Arteta's not been able to get anything. Of course, he got the FA Cup when he first came, but what I mean is that he's not been able to get anything with this team. With this team. I think that's what's also hurting him. So I think he is really going into next season, and he is going into next season thinking, you know what, this is now or never. And the problem is now is that I don't know if one of those lesser trophies is going to be enough next season. Now, I don't think Arsenal fans are going to take that, because you've kind of put all your eggs into getting this league. Because I think maybe not so much this season, but I think in previous seasons, I think Arsenal fans have felt that he's not taking the cup competition seriously. And he's kind of dismissed them a little bit. And I think it was like, okay, we're focusing on the league, we're focusing on the league, we're focusing on the league. But the problem with that is that you need to get it over the line. If you can't get it over the line, then it's going to be problematic. So I think that's the problem. So when there's fans looking at Arteta and they're saying, oh, you know what, look where he's taken us, he's done this, he's done that. I understand it from the perspective of, oh, you know what, you were really down in the dumps, Emirates era, all of these things were happening, you were losing your best players. But you need to also understand that Arsenal Football Club, like, it existed before you started watching them.
There's
a generation of fans who.
But I think what I was gonna add to what you're saying, bro.
Go on, bro.
And I feel like it wasn't. I think this is also why, again, I feel like, again, everyone watches football, or that they support a team in a way that works for them, in it, man. But I feel like if you also want to preserve your mental health as well, man, like you said, the generation of Arsenal fans that were used to winning trophies and that was before the Cronkies, bro. That was before 2007. So since the Cronkies have been here, they haven't shown us anything that they're gonna get rid of Arteta now. They're gonna go bring in another guy. They're gonna now give him the money, or they're gonna make sure he gets over the line. So again, it's kind of like a whole, well, you can get rid of him this year. We can say we're gonna bring someone else in. Again, it's all hope, and we all hope that the next person will do something. So I say, overall, it's like we're dealing with owners or a club that, like, they need to succeed in spite of the owners rather than because of the owners. Like that's also the reality as well. But
and that's why I wasn't taking anything away from the ownership. Again, like, we spoke about my club, the ownership. We've spoken about we don't need to rehash it, but otherwise I'll go on another rant. But like, we know what they've done, but also at the same time, that's why I was saying, even despite of the Glazers, even despite of Ineos, even despite of the injuries, and even despite of the fact that you've only been here for a few months, Amorim, you still should be doing better than this. Like, do you get me? And I think sometimes fans, they're too kind of scared to lay blame on a manager. And I get it. Arteta, he's done a very good job as regards to taking you from where you were to putting you into a position where you're challenging for titles. I fully understand that. Like, he has done a good job. But I think also this is the thing as well. You've got to have enough faith in the players and in the project to believe that it's not just dependent on Arteta. Like, do you get me? Like, Saka should still be Saka without Arteta. Saliba and Gabriel should still be Saliba and Gabriel without Arteta. Like, do you get me? Like, you built something here, which of course Arteta has had a major influence of, but also is not just dependent on him. So I think that's where it is. Like, I think he's just in a position.
Oh, so I guess question from the outside: would you sack Arteta this year? From me, I guess, if you were asked to find out from the outside, what honestly, everything considered,
me honestly speaking, and it sounds so harsh. I would, I actually would. Like, but it sounds so harsh. I understand fully why you wouldn't. Like, I understand the side of I understand the perspective of fans who are looking at it and saying, look at what he's built. But I just kind of feel like when you have an opportunity, you need to make the most of it. And I think when you're looking at this Arsenal team, there's an opportunity here. And I think there's just been too many times where he's not been able to capitalize. Like, I think 22-23, you can look at it and you can say, you know what, you weren't expected to challenge. The season after, again, he changed things around, tried, weren't able to get over the line. And then I think this season, you're really looking at it and you're thinking, you know what, if City aren't there, it has to be Arsenal. Like, it has to be Arsenal. And Slot and Liverpool have just came through and done a madness. Like, do you get me? Like, they've literally just gazumped it. Like, it's gone City, Arsenal, and then now Liverpool, Arsenal. And it's just like, and I understand the context of injuries. I understand the context of everything that's happened. But I also think that sometimes when your club has a moment, you need to get things over the line. And I think just when you're looking at the tenure in itself, no trophies as regards to with this team, I think that's just really disappointing. Like, I think you need things to show for it. Like, you can't work with this assumption that next year is going to be our year, because things can happen. A lot of Arsenal fans, they would have said, what if you told a lot of Arsenal fans that City were going to fall off, like how they've fallen off this season? If you said that to Arsenal fans at the start of the season, they would have said, we've definitely won the league. We've definitely won the league. And then boom, Liverpool's come and they're now winning the league. So I think it might sound harsh, but I just think it's just the reality of football that when you do have, because he's been here for a while. Like, this isn't a thing where it's like, oh, you've not given a manager enough time to do his thing. Like, he's been here since 2019. Like, he has been here a while. And I think, in football, you do need to get things over the line. And I think a lot of the time when people do reference Fergie, like I said, Ferguson, he was under extreme pressure and he had the resume. At Aberdeen, he worked wonders. He won multiple league titles in a league that's dominated by Rangers and Celtic. He won a European trophy. He beat Real Madrid. And there was still pressure because his results weren't good enough. And then what happened? He went on a trophy run. 1990 FA Cup.
Again, like you're as good as you're like last.
Yeah, like, you get me? Like, that's what it is. It's like as much as you can, like, you look at Ferguson, he had way more clout than Arteta. And they still said,
"Well, Arteta had no clout."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No clout,
with no job. Yeah,
you get me. And when Ferguson, and this is important to mention as well, when Ferguson took over Manchester United as well, Manchester United were 19th in the league, bro. We hadn't won a title for almost 20 years. Our last title was 1967. So Manchester United were in a horrible place, and people were still saying after a few years, this isn't good enough for Ferguson. Ferguson, who'd won things at Aberdeen, who'd won a European trophy against Real Madrid, who had a resume, they still said this isn't good enough. And then literally what saved him was, like I said, FA Cup 1990, 1991, European Cup Winners' Cup, 1992 League Cup, and then UEFA Super Cup, and then 1993 winning the Premier League. And then after that, we know what happened, like I said. So I think just ultimately, he needs to get things over the line. I think if you are, because he could go next season, next season could occur and then he could win the Premier League. Do you get me? And then I think most people say, hey, well, it was worth it. Like, do you get me? But it's now like a
and now
the question is that do you trust him to get it over the line? I think that's the question. And I think some fans genuinely do. Like, I think some fans genuinely do I think some fans, they look at it and they think 22-23, we weren't expecting to challenge. 23-24, we were really close. But in the run-in, we won most of our games, but then we slipped up against Villa. And then, we weren't able to get it over the line. 24-25, we've been extremely unlucky with injuries, etc., etc., etc. So they're trusting him in 25-26 to actually win the Premier League. And if that's your mentality and you genuinely believe that, then fair enough. Do you get me? But also, I think that those fans need to be understanding of other people who look at it and say, you know what?
100.
Yeah, I don't know, because football's weird, man. Like, you don't have these moments forever. Like, literally, like sometimes you've got to get it. Like, if Ferguson doesn't do what he does, in that 1989-99 season, then all of this may never have happened. Like, you get me?
It's true. The butterfly
effect. The butterfly effect. Like, that's how it works, bro. So very quickly, I think that that's just my thoughts on Arteta. But I do want to say that. Even if they got rid, I don't think he's done well. Like, and it doesn't mean that he's not a good manager. I think for him to be able to have done what he's done in his first managerial role is impressive. Like, he's done his thing. Like, so it's it's more so a thing of like it's nothing personal to him. It's just that sometimes when it starts to become this thing, like, you know, when it becomes this thing of like second. Sometimes there's like this block where it's like sometimes you maybe just need someone who's fresh, who can come in and say, we're gonna get this done. Like, do you get me? Sometimes that new energy is kind of what you need. Like, do you get me? So it's just like, but I think obviously, like you said, he's not going anywhere this season, confirmed. Like, we all know that. So he's gonna have another opportunity next season to get it over the line. But I think he's going to have to do it. And if he does it, then fair play. Like, do you get me? Fair play. Like, do you get me? Like, it's been a long wait, but at least you were able to get it over the line. But I think the fear is that you're not going to be able to get it over the line. And I think the fact that he's just not won with this group, he's not won anything. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, it's just anything. Like, just anything. Like, something to show for your work where these players can.
Hey, man, what's still the champs, bro?
Oh, champs, no. Obviously, I'm talking about up until this point. I don't think you're winning no champs. I'm talking up until this point. Do you get me? Up until this point. Well, you gotta have something to show for it. So I think that's my thing. Very quickly, bro. Very quickly, bro. I just want to get your thoughts on Odegaard very quickly, because I think similar to Bruno, there's been a lot of discussions regarding, you know, Odegaard. Should he be Arsenal captain? Is he good enough, etc.? And I think, again, he kind of has that similar thing to Bruno, where you have some fans who are saying world class, etc., and you've got some fans who are saying, nah, man, he ain't it. And like, I'm seeing both ends of the spectrum. So what are your thoughts on Odegaard?
He's definitely in a rough place right now, man. Because again with Odegaard, he's so interesting. I feel like when he first came in, I think his first season when he was on loan, like, was decent. Like, he was some very good performances, some performances he was average. And I feel like he's 2 seasons after that is when I think he was hitting ridiculous highs. Like, I always say, man, I feel like last year especially, Odegaard was playing like a player that he deserved to win a league. That's not like when I think about like how all of our players were performing in the running, I feel like Odegaard was ridiculous. Like, the game that he was single-handedly just pulling out the bag, and that's like getting us the win or getting us the points. I guess again similar like a Bruno, like he was actually doing that for us as well in terms of key goals. And I feel like this year, where I think he's really fallen off, man, like, again, I feel like he's kind of like personal impact on games. I feel like it's really fallen off a cliff. I feel like, again, like what he used to have in terms of his shooting outside the box, his clinicalness, even like maybe he has like the really nice assist that, like, oh, that's crazy, but he doesn't have that at the frequency. That's also because, to be fair, it's always it's an argument I've had with one of my friends a lot, because he's always said that to him, Odegaard is more of an 8 and not a 10. And I used to always argue it's like I hear it. I think he could be a very good 8, but I also think you're dealing with discredit as a 10. But I feel like this year has probably been the year where he's been proven the most right in that conversation, where it's like, if you're going to be around the opposition's box, then especially in our team where we have Marino and Rice next to you, now all of the creativity and goal scoring like opportunities now falls on your kind of shoulders. And I feel like he doesn't have that to like the efficiency that you really need to have as like a world-class 10 as well. But then if you think of him as a total footballer, in terms of building up play, like how intelligent he is, like him having the ability to unlock those key passes, he has that too, which is now where I see that maybe if he was more of an 8, maybe, and then you had like when I think of like an elite 10 now, I'm thinking like a Wirtz, like a player in that position that's just going to get their numbers as well on top of being like a really well-rounded good footballer. And I feel like this year has been where Odegaard has really kind of lacked that cutting edge. Like I didn't think the drop off between him and Saka was as high as it was, because I think we spoke about early in the season where it's like, when I've seen Saka without Odegaard and I've seen Odegaard without Saka, and definitely it's looking like Odegaard without Saka is not the same at all.
Bro,
like he needs
Saka's
that.
Won that argument. Saka's
he
won that
has.
He has. I'm not gonna lie. That who's the more important player between Odegaard and Saka? Saka's won it.
He's won it. He's won it. But like, yes, all of that said, yes, that was just the initial kind of like my overall thoughts on Odegaard. And yeah, he's not been great recently. So I think, again, it's really easy to criticize him. I think he deserves the criticism because he just hasn't been good. But again, it's why I also think people get carried away. Because like I said to you, I also feel like with a footballer, you also look at what they've done in the total time they've been at your club. And I feel like Odegaard is definitely not a player that I can say these total time at Arsenal, these last, like, let's say couple of months now, I'm now going to like maybe say like he's not as good as I think he is as a footballer, because I still think he's a very good footballer. I think there's definitely things in his game he needs to definitely start cutting out, like the flicks and the fake shots and all that stuff is all cute, but sometimes, brother, don't fake shot, shoot. That's my issue with him right now. It's like he's doing too much of this flary, nice, tappy, but it's like, no, we need effectiveness. And I feel like because our team is so like ineffective, it's like him doing these things, it pisses people off even more. And I feel like that's also like what's like triggering people even more when they watch him.
Do you think he hides at times as well? Do you think he hides? Because I know that's a criticism that's been like given by a lot of Arsenal fans where they say, you know what, sometimes like he hides.
Yeah,
like,
again, I feel like that's probably more of a recency bias thing, man. Because I've seen games where like, Arsenal have looked like we're not going to get anything from it, and it's Odegaard picking up the ball, dropping deep. That's why I'm playing the ball forward, doing what he needs to do to make sure that something happens. So I've seen him do that enough times to say that I don't think overall he hides. But I think he's in a really rough patch right now. The team aren't great. He's not been great. So I think the people who maybe even from the beginning weren't really I feel like this happens a lot in football, where it's like people don't like a player, but then he performs at a level where you have to just like sit on your hands. But in a moment now that there's a chink in the armor, he's not as good as he has been, where you have to sit on your hands. It's now, this guy's rubbish. This is what I've been and I feel like Odegaard, I've seen it with some fans too, where with that initial loan spell where maybe they weren't infused with him or they didn't really want him, he performed at a level where you can't say anything anymore. And then the moment he now drops a certain level, it's now, this is why I don't think he's a very good footballer. So I think it's that balance. I think he's in a rough patch right now, but I overall still think he's a very good footballer. I think I need to see this go on longer before I just don't rate him the way I rate him, kind of thing. Like I think I don't have to have a recency kind of because he's not been good in the last couple of months now to now ignore everything I've thought up to that point. But I think I can criticize and say he hasn't been good recently at all, and he deserves criticism right now. But I think people who are trying to make it like a bigger overall him as a footballer, I think is a bit disingenuous in my opinion. Is like my take on Odegaard. I still think, I think he's definitely. I think what his problem too is that because he's clearly not the captain that's going to Eric Thomas or like the motivational. This is what you need to. He has to be the guy who performs. You kind of look to his performances as a captain. So I feel like when he's now not playing well, I think that's when him as a captain also gets questioned even more. Because it's like you're already not really the guy who's the most vocal or shouty or telling people what to do. So if your performances also aren't really at a top tier level, then it's very easy now to just say, you're not a good captain.
I see a lot of people because they get onto him sometimes because he loves to do the arms thing, the guy with the crowd. He loves to do to get the crowd.
But again, bro, it's that whole thing with the ick. It's like when someone gives you the ick, then it's like every little thing they do now that pisses you off. Because bro, when we were smacking teams, I don't care what Odegaard was doing after the crowd. I said, please continue. But we're gonna lose the games. And Marino's your striker. And then like that's gonna be very frustrating.
He's like, stop trying to, bruv. We've been supporting you, bruv. Perform. Like, trying to tell us, distract from the issue about make more days, bro. You performed.
I hear it. So,
but I hear you.
That's fine. That's my overall take. I think right now, deserves criticism. He hasn't been great recently, but I think Odegaard's still a really, really good footballer, man. Like we're definitely gonna need him. Even that PSV tie this week, we're going to need him desperately. So yeah, man. So now Arsenal, we're just in a rough time. I think these next few months is really just stumble to end the season, get top 4, and then see our reality going into next year. That's really where my head's at right now. But
I hear you, man. I hear you, bro. Hey, man, bro. That's two up front therapy. All
hey,
done, man. I think a lot has been said, man. We had to analyze our clubs, get to that, bro. But bro.
I feel it's so interesting, like going forward over these next few weeks.
Bro.
But I feel like we've kind of got everyone to where our heads
out.
I feel like we've set the scene of our expectations of our thoughts. We need to end this the rest of the season,
honestly, bro. Bro, I'm not expecting. If I'm being so, bro, man, Europe is not looking good. Like, do you get me? And then obviously in the league, we know where we're at. So it's just, man, it's just, I hate it. I'll just say this quickly. I hate ending the season like this, though. Like I love, even last season when things were looking bleak because of the FA Cup. There's something to look forward to. Like, I hate when you get to these months and you're just like, season's done.
Mathematically, nothing makes sense.
Like, you get me. It's just like, But very quickly, bro. And I don't even want to spend too much time on this because of the time, and also, like, this is hurtful to say, but it looks like Liverpool number 20 is on the way. They're gonna equal us for Premier League titles, and I think we've given a lot of praise to Liverpool over the course of the season. I think the job Slot has done has been brilliant, and I think on another stream, I think an interesting conversation to have will be as regards to how much credit does Klopp deserve for how he left the team, and how much credit does Slot deserve for what he's done with the team currently. But we can have that conversation for a different stream. But I think very quickly, what I did just want to address is Mo Salah, because this guy is going absolutely crazy, bro. I think in the Prem alone, he's currently on 25 goals, 17 assists. I think obviously the record is 20, which is Henry and KDB. They both got 20 assists. And man, it looks like Salah can go on to have an absolutely historical season. And man, I think when you're talking about a player who's been able to adapt his game, you're talking about a player, bro, were you seeing those Trevellas? Do you get me? I think it was in the Newcastle game, bro. He was just that outside of the boot pass, bro. Like, he's mastered it, bro. It was just Trevellaing. Like, do you get me? So he was doing his absolute, he's just doing a madness. And I think, I wanted to just quickly talk about, and then we will round up, is that, like, obviously he's having a historical season. It looks like Liverpool are going to go on to win the league. Obviously the Champions League as well. They're right in it. We'll see what happens with PSG, and then obviously the further ties if they make it that far. Obviously, as a Manchester United fan, hopefully they don't. But as regards to individual seasons from a Premier League player, where would you put this? Because obviously I think a lot of people have been discussing, like the greatest Premier League seasons, not just Premier League seasons, but seasons from a Premier League player. So even talking about all competitions of all time. And there's been a lot of different seasons that are coming up. I think, obviously people have spoken about Henry's 02-03 season, 20 goals, 20 assists. People have spoken about Henry's invincible season. People have spoken about Bale's season before he left for Madrid. I think it was 12-13. Obviously, RVP that season as well was brilliant for us. RVP was even brilliant for you guys the season before. I remember that season. He was moving crazy.
30 goals, 9 assists.
Mad. So, the Suarez 13-14 as well, where he was moving crazy. Obviously, Liverpool didn't end up winning anything that season. But and me personally, I've said it before. I think for me personally, the greatest season ever by a Premier League player is Cristiano Ronaldo's 07, 08. That's the best Premier League season. That's the best season from a Premier League player. That's the best season by a Premier League player that I've ever seen personally. Like, I think that season, when you're looking at everything, when you're looking at eye test, when you're looking at entertainment, when you're looking at stats, I think when you just put everything into the mix, I think he ticks every box. I think that season, Cristiano was the most entertaining player in the Premier League. That season, he was top scorer of the Premier League. If you're looking at the variety of goals, headers, free kicks, left foot, right foot, bro, I remember that free kick against Portsmouth, bro. Everyone in their school, they'll go into the playground trying to replicate that technique of like how he gets it up and down and etc. And I think obviously when you account for what he did in the Champions League as well, scoring in the final, winning the Champions League, Ballon d'Or, everything, that for me personally is the best season I've ever seen from a Premier League player. That's not to take anything away from Salah and what he's doing. I think he's been absolutely brilliant, but that's just my honest opinion. Like, when I look at football from all aspects, when I look at the stats, when I look at entertainment, when I look at technical ability, and I put everything into the mix, that's the best season that I've ever personally seen. But yeah, from just your perspective, what are some of the seasons that you look at and you think, rah, that's the best season I've seen by a Premier League player?
Yeah, to be fair, I feel like you touched on a lot of the key ones. Like as much of a snake he is, man, that Van Persie season the year before he left was ridiculous, man. Because I feel like that was one of the the earliest kind of times me watching football where I remember us actually having like an absolute bagsman up front. Like he was, because that's when he was actually able to stay fit as well, which is something that he always struggled with. So that year of seeing him stay fit and like the goals he was scoring, I'll never forget the song assist, I think, against Everton. He's another snake. Yeah, that volley. And then what year was was it the Euros where he did the diving? The diving.
Oh, that was the World Cup. That was the World Cup.
2014.
2014.
Yeah, okay, cool. So that was after United. So yeah, I think
the flying
run of Van Persie, yeah, I think he was ridiculous during that period. And then the one that always hurts me the most, man, because I'll never forget it, because I think it was even the season of the 40 million plus one. And that's why it always stick in my memory. That Suarez season, that 13-14 Suarez season, I was in so much pain, man. Like, he was ridiculous that year. Because again, when I think of like my favorite type of footballers, like the Suarez's, the Sanchez's, like that was like when I think of like my perfect footballer, like how I want a striker or attacking player to play, I feel like that was just everything in terms of entertainment, goals, assists, like just pure chaos. So yeah, for me, I think this one just like a personal, like just remembering how I felt watching that season of the goals he was scoring, how excited I was actually even just watching Liverpool during that season. Yeah, I think for me, man, I'm gonna have to give it to Suarez, just the pure excitement that he kind of brought during that year. Like,
he was on smoke that season, and I think even in that season, I think he missed the first few games because he was banned from the season. He did. So the fact that he still done what he done after missing the first few games and scoring all of those goals, and he literally almost dragged Liverpool to that.
Oh, did he miss it was like 8 games or something? He missed quite like a
it was like 8. I think it was 8. Games. Yeah, I think it was like 8, and he still done what he done. That Suarez season, like again, like hate Liverpool. I don't, from a personal perspective, I don't really like Suarez either.
Oh yeah, he's a prick.
From a player perspective, like, you get me? Because with everything that went on with Evra as well, like I dislike Suarez a lot. I'm not gonna lie. But from a player perspective, man, you can't deny his quality. And that season, he was on smoke. And even though Liverpool didn't win anything, then like he was definitely sensational. So. Yeah, I think that season's definitely up there. With me, it's still Cristiano. Just I think when I factor in everything and what he achieved, Champions League, but even just in the Premier League, I just remember like it felt so good to actually genuinely look at it and think, rah, we've got the best player in the world right now. Like genuinely. And people will look, rival fans, they'll all say, yeah, they do. Like, do you get me? There's not even like because, and again, that's what I hate sometimes about Ronaldo, is that sometimes I think when people look back, like, and they talk about his career, a lot of the time they try to do this whole thing of like, oh, he just scored a lot of goals. And it's like, no, again, for all of you with memory loss, I thank God that I don't have it. I remember Ronaldo tearing up the Premier League. I remember him being the most entertaining player in the Premier League. I remember him scoring a variety of goals, the step overs, the skills, like the free kicks, everything about his game literally was super entertaining. So even just from a footballing perspective, no one can ever try and gaslight me and tell me that CR7 wasn't doing a madness. So from that perspective, yeah, like it was absolutely crazy. But yeah, man, I think there's been a lot of great ones. But do you think Salah's gonna get and break the assist record? He's got what 4 more to go.
Yeah, I think he will, man. I think the way Liverpool are playing right now, the goals they score, I think he will, man.
And bro,
if he picks up the Prem, and because they can pick up champs as well, man.
Yeah,
they're definitely good enough to pick up champs as well. So yeah, they do that, and I think that Ballon d'Or conversation, yeah, man.
Yeah, that's his. If they pick up champs, that's his. Like, yeah. And yeah, because he's actually looking at like he might get just in the Prem 30 goals, 20 assists.
Yeah,
that's bonkers, but bro. Yeah. But anyway, bro, hey man, we can talk about Liverpool properly another time. It's been a long stream, a lot of therapy. But yeah, man, I'm just gonna quickly say to whoever's been watching us, we appreciate it, whether it's been a minute, half an hour, the whole stream. Yeah, please follow us on the socials, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Insta, and subscribe to our channel, please. Like and subscribe. And yeah, we are going to be updating you guys as regards to content and things that we've got planned. And of course, yeah, hopefully soon be releasing some collabs as well. But if you want to collab with us, please feel free to send us a message. But yeah, bro, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, as always, thank you to everyone who's tuned in. And yeah, no, definitely a good stream, man. So yeah, looking forward to the next one.
All right, in a bit, guys. Stay blessed.